Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into a mist-draped village where time moves like honey down a bamboo chute. You know, the kind of dawn that makes construction workers jealous of roosters. Yeah, that quiet, but fair warning, if your idea of peaceful mornings involves snooze buttons and espresso machines, you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me where you're watching from and what weird hour your clock says tonight. I want to see who's brave enough to drift through ancient China with me at, let's see, 3 a.m. in Toronto. Classic. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You hear roosters crow, not the angry alarm clock screech of cities, but low, rumbling hums that melt into morning mist. By the way, did you know 9th century farmers used bamboo pipes as natural water clocks? True story. Stocks taller than temples created drip systems, more reliable than your Wi-Fi. But I digress. Wind teases through the bamboo grove, each stalk creaking like old floorboards in a forgotten house. Somewhere beyond those green walls, temple bells ring, 18 precise strikes for the hour. Historians still argue whether those bronze beasts served timekeeping or scared off hungry spirits drawn by breakfast fires. Your stomach growls, no judgment here, as smoke curls from clay rooftops. Imagine farmer Wu rolling dumpling dough, while his wife plucks guqin strings, dishes clattering in rhythm with those distant chimes. The path squishes underfoot, last night's rain clinging to straw sandals. You pass a well where 3 generations ago, legend says, some poor soul tried brewing tea from lotus roots. Pro tip: don't. Unless you enjoy drinks tasting like swamp regrets. A frog plops into the water, ripples distorting your reflection into something older. Just the sleep deprivation talking, probably. Sunlight bleeds through cloud banks, golden threads stitching earth to sky. On a nearby hill, shadowed even now, stands what locals call the Bone Pagoda. Not as grim as it sounds. Mostly, turns out 8th century monks mixed cremation ashes into mortar, their version of living forever through architecture. Quirky, but oddly sweet. You decide. Your toe catches a mossy stone, rough edges worn smooth by centuries of lucky kicks. 3 apricot trees droop with fruit nobody picks. Why? Because Deng Xiaoping's great-great-granduncle apparently cursed them after losing a bet. Or maybe the fruit's just bitter. History's funny that way. A distant shout slices the calm. Probably old Lin telling kids to stop skateboarding on burial mounds. Teenagers, am I right? They've been a pain since the Tang Dynasty. You duck into an alley where laundry flutters like ghostly banners, sleeves brushing your cheeks. Someone's breakfast of steamed buns and regret wafts through a cracked window. 15 steps later, the village square opens up its central oak tree, hosting more gossip than a Qing dynasty salon. Hundreds may have met here during the Black Death riots, the records are spicy. Scrolls claim villagers danced plague away with dragon masks and chili wine. Docs say fermented beverages helped. Coincidence? Unclear, but play it safe. Grab some hand sanitizer. Ancient microbes aren't woke. The bells strike again, 19. 30. Who counts when temporal vertigo hits? You rub your eyes, maybe that third coffee was a mistake, but the scene holds. Geese waddle toward the river, feathers dusted with pollen that shimmers like crushed stars. Kneel by the water just once, and you'll see why poets wasted ink describing reflections here. Pale fish dart, silver streaks, avoiding your shadow. Watch long enough, and they'll start forming characters from forgotten folktales. Water splashes your wrist, colder than expected. That's your cue. The real magic starts when you stop looking, or so the steamed bun philosopher down the lane insists. You rise, knees protesting, just as the mist lifts. For one heartbeat, the village feels eternal. Then a donkey brays. The spell breaks. Time to move, but where? Sun's fully up now. Heat hugging your neck like a needy cat. Beyond the last rice paddy, past where the map ends, a shadow stirs in the bamboo. Moon-silvered water glides past your ankles. It's chill, seeping through worn sandals. You're not alone here. The willow's branches dip low, a curtain of leaves brushing your shoulders. Listen. That hum isn't the river. It thrums from the trunk itself, vibrations rising through roots buried deep in the bank. A groove in the bark catches your thumb. Drag your nail across it. The wood sings a single clear note. Historians still argue whether Song-era botanists tuned willows like instruments, or if it's just wind tricking tired ears. You lean closer anyway. Spill your secrets, you mutter. The leaves rustle, a sound like laughter. Peel back a strip of moss. Beneath it, tiny characters carved in vermilion ink. Lin Sheng, 1123 CE. A soldier's name, a lover's. The red hasn't faded, not after 9 centuries. You press your palm to the mark. Distant flutes echo, or maybe it's the blood in your own ears. Something crunches underfoot. A shard of celadon pottery, its glaze still luminous as a beetle's wing. You pocket it absently. Folk tales claim willow groves hoard broken things, shattered vows, lost buttons, the left socks of the universe. A breeze swirls, carrying the sting of fermented plums. That be old Lady Feng's distillery across the river. Her ancestor allegedly bribed a Ming Dynasty magistrate with peach blossom wine. The man wrote a poem about it, then died mid-couplet. Wood creaks. A branch sweeps over the water, writing circles in the moonlight. Follow the ripples. They lead to a knot in the trunk, a hollow just wide enough for your fist. Inside, crimson threads knotted around a jade pebble, 13 precise loops. 13 was a funeral number here, each not a year of mourning. You unwind them anyway. The stone warms instantly, pulsing like a second heartbeat. Legends say willows straddle realms, roots in our world, branches in theirs. That pebble, could be a god's misplaced marble, could be a kid's toy from the Yuan dynasty. You roll it between your fingers. It leaves a scent like burnt honey. The hum sharpens. Words now fragments of a lullaby half remembered. Sleep, little minnow, the heron's gone west. Your eyelids droop. 14 syllables in the verse, or is it 15? Historians still argue whether the Willow ballad was a harvest chant or a battle hymn. You hum the next line, a guess. The tree shivers, releasing a shower of catkins. They catch in your hair, soft as moth wings. A fish breaks the surface. Its scales flash silver. Mirror carp. They'd float these waters when emperors still ruled, living ink paintings wriggling in the current. You skip the pebble across the river. It bounces 7 times, then sinks with a plink. The willow sighs, a long exhale that bends the reeds. Your shadow stretches jagged on the bank until the moon ducks behind clouds. Darkness wraps the tree, the hum fades to a murmur. Wait, is that snoring? You press an ear to the trunk. A resonant drone pulses through the wood steady as a bear's winter breath. Rude, you whisper. The leaves smack your cheek, a damp retort. Dawn's first blush stains the horizon. Mist rises, threading through the branches like spectral silk. You snap a twig. Its sap smells of lemongrass and regret. The hum stutters, dies. Sunlight hits the river. Golden ripples erase last night's secrets. The hollow empties, the threads dissolve to dust. But the pebble's weight stays in your palm, a souvenir or a warning. The willow sways innocent as any tree. You pocket the stone, walk back toward the village, each step crushing catkins into the mud. Behind you, a lone branch taps the water. 3 quick splashes. A code, a coincidence. The answer drifts downstream, lost in the current's endless whispering. Cherry blossoms batter your face, petals sticking to your eyelashes like wet confetti. You brush them off, only to have your sandal sink into moss-slick stone. This garden wasn't on the map. Then again, neither was that witchy willow or its snoozing ghost. 23 steps ahead, a bamboo fountain trickles into a lotus pool. Each drop strikes bronze bells, suspended underwater. Notes shimmer upward, D-flat, A-sharp, something Mozart would have stolen for a requiem. Historians still argue whether high-era nobles designed these gardens as meditation aids or sneaky military mazes. You zigzag past peonies, their 5-petaled blooms fat as cabbages. A bee dive bombs your ear. Not today, you hiss, swatting at air. The crane appears silently, wingspan wider than your outstretched arms. It glides so low you feel the whoosh in your molars. Shadows from its feathers stripe the path, lines shifting like a sundial on speed. You freeze. 12 heartbeats pass. The bird tilts its head obsidian, eye reflecting your dumbstruck face. It coughs. A pearl lands at your feet, lustrous as a baby moon. You crouch to grab it, then pause. Folklore claims cranes swallow stones to balance mid-flight. Steal one, and they'll haunt your dreams until you cough up a kidney. You nudge the pearl with your toe. It rolls into a clump of blue iris, audibly sizzling. Huh, you're a terrible stage magician, you tell the crane. It preens, ignoring you. Sunlight shafts through cherry branches, spotlighting a stone tablet half buried in ferns. Brush off the dirt. 10th century script curls across the surface, each character crisp as the day it was carved. Imperial concubine Wen's retreat. Records say she bathed here in saffron milk, though her enemies whispered it was camel urine. You trace the engraving. A chip flies off, hitting your shin. The crane snorts. Something glints underwater. Not bells this time, golden scales darting between lily pads. Koi, big ones. Their whiskers twitch as they shadow your movements. Someone trained them to swarm at the clap of a hand, or so claims a 1987 issue of Bizarre Zoology Monthly. You snap your fingers. The fish scatter, except a fat orange one that floats belly up. Drama queen, you mutter. It writes itself, spitting a jet of water at your knees. A gust kicks up, blossoms swirling like pink snow. One sticks to your nose. You sneeze, triggering a chain reaction. 3 sparrows flee a cedar. The crane startles, lifting off in a flurry of indignation. Its pearl winks at you from the irises. You pocket it. Consequences are tomorrow's problem. The path turns treacherous, stepping stones slick with algae. Each slab bears a carved character: patience, stillness, regret. Typical Zen checklist. You misstep on humility, nearly faceplant into a rock garden. Across the raked gravel, a weathered urn tips sideways. Ash spills from its mouth. Cremated monk, imperial nail clippings. The wind answers by whisking it into your eyes. Light dims. Storm clouds. No, a wooden pavilion juts overhead, its sagging roof strung with rusted chimes. Climb the rotted steps. Floorboards creak a B minor chord underfoot. Scrolls litter the floor, their silk scorched at the edges. Unfurl one. Faded illustrations show cranes battling serpentine dragons. Ink strokes frantic as thunderbolts. Historians still argue whether this depicts myth or a very bad day. In 803 CE, rain patters, petals plastering the pavilion's lattice walls. Your pearl grows warm, pulsing through your pocket like a muted alarm. The koi swirl faster, forming a glowing spiral. One breaks rank, leaping clear of the pond. It hangs suspended, water droplets frozen midair, then vanishes with a pop. You blink. The fish are gone, pond still as green glass. Only your reflection stares back, plus a second face peering over your shoulder. Turn slowly. Nothing, but the pearl's heat intensifies, burning a hole in your cheap linen pants. You chuck it into the pond. It sinks, glowing brighter with each foot, then extinguishes like a drowned star. Ripples spread, distorting the crane's reflection as it circles back. Drip, drip, the rain stops. Petals drift downward, lazy as falling stars. Somewhere beyond the garden walls, a gong sounds. Lunchtime for monks. Dinner for restless spirits. Your stomach growls, a bass note to the bird's shrill chorus. The path twists, leading you past a carved gate. Its doors hang askew, revealing a snarl of weeds beyond. Not the way you came. The crane lands on a nearby boulder, tucking its legs like a grumpy origami project. Last chance. Turn back to the village, mud-stained and cherry-pelted, or push into the overgrowth. You snap a twig from a magnolia. Its sap smells like lemongrass and bad decisions. The crane flaps once, scattering petals into a mini tornado. Through the blizzard, a metallic glint winks in the distance. Oh, fine, you sigh, crushing blossoms underfoot as you march toward the unknown. Behind you, the pearl's light reignites underwater just as the first firefly blinks awake in the twilight. The workshop smells like disappointment and burnt time. Earthenware lines every surface. Cracked pots ooze lavender sludge, while copper stills belch steam. Your sleeve catches fire brushing a brazier. Drama queen, you whisper, smacking flames into submission. The alchemists left in a hurry. Half-eaten dumplings fossilize on a workbench, chopsticks stabbed upright like grave markers. 89 clay bowls cap the eastern shelf, each cradling a single dewdrop. You tap one. The plink echoes through the room. Pitch-perfect middle C, tap another F-sharp. Someone tuned condensation. A scroll unrolls itself, inkblots scurrying like beetles to form characters. Sweet licorice root boiled thrice under midnight stars, Guangzhou's Tang Dynasty remedy for melancholy. You snort. Modern hipsters pay $40 an ounce for this stuff in Brooklyn. 3 frogs croak from a rusty cage, their skins iridescent as oil slicks. One stares you down, throat puffing. Don't even, you warn. It winks. Behind them, a ledger lies open. Batch 47. Powdered firefly abdomens, lunar eclipse runoff, tears of the last words scratched out. You dab a finger in the adjacent jar. Tastes like pickle juice and regret. A mortar glows, pestle floating mid-grind. Cinnamon and something sharper mugwort. Choke the air. Your eyes water. Blink away tears, and the pestle drops, cracking the bowl. Purple smoke coils upward, spelling a curse in classical Chinese. Rough translation. Thou shalt stub thy toe daily for a fortnight. Moonlight slants through paper panels, revealing a wall of pigeonholes. Vials clink as you riffle through them. Scorpion tails, dried seahorses, a pickle jar labeled Emperor Huzong's nail clippings, allegedly. Behind it, a recipe flutters. Forbidden elixir of Ming-era. Steep 7 crushed pearls in crane's saliva under the parchment dissolves, ash coating your palm. You kick a trunk. It creaks open, revealing moth-eaten robes and a jade hairpin. The stone warms at your touch, pulsing like a tired heartbeat. Toss it back. Memories flood in hot springs at Yu Tang Pharmacy. 13th century herbalists pounding licorice root into tinnitus cures. The scent clings, sickly sweet and persistent as a debt collector. Something hisses. A serpentine tube spirals from ceiling to floor, quicksilver dripping into a flask. Count the drops. 74. 75. The rhythm syncs with your pulse. A ledger note flares Mercury. For immortality, results may vary. You back away slowly. Twin braziers roar to life. No visible flame, just heat rippling the air. Between them, a stone trough steams. You peer in. Mushrooms float pale and fleshy, their gills pulsing. Reach to skim one. The water boils. Yank back sleeve now sporting a perfect hand-shaped burn. Wind slams shutters. A sand timer flips counting down with black sand. 16 granules remain. The frogs croak faster. The fireflies in their jar blink Morse code. SOS. You pocket the jar. Regret it immediately. Their abdomens scorch through fabric. A bell chimes once. The sand timer explodes, dark grains swirling into a miniature sandstorm. It forms a face, lips moving soundlessly. You lunge for the door. It slams, iron bolt melting into slag. Through the chaos, a firefly escapes. Its light catches something. 5 tiles form a hidden pattern underfoot, carved with celestial animals. Step on the tortoise. The wall pivots, revealing a tunnel. Dank air wafts up moss and wet stone. The frogs cheer. Or maybe that's tinnitus. Last glance back. The workshop's devouring itself, pots shattering, elixirs combusting, ledgers birthing paper wasps. You dive into darkness as the alchemist's final batch detonates, its heat licking your heels. Somewhere above a crane screeches. The hairpin in your pocket thrums, guiding you downward into cooler black. Drip, drip, drip. Water seeps through the ceiling. A single dewdrop lands on your neck, ice cold and precise as a sniper's bullet. The frogs approve. Frost crystallizes on your lashes, each blink clicking like a tiny metronome. The tunnel's damp chill sharpens into Arctic bite, air razoring your throat raw. You stumble into a vast white plain, sky choked with emerald auroras. Their tendrils pulse, synchronized to a subsonic thrum in your molars. Something massive hums beneath the ice. Vapor rises from hairline cracks, scenting the air with ozone and burnt marshmallow. Your breath ghosts outward, then freezes midair. Suspended crystals shimmer, a personal constellation mirroring the auroras above. Nice vanity project, you mutter. The ice creaks, a sound like God clearing his throat. Boots crunch toward a steel-gray structure, half buried in snowdrifts. Not a boulder. Too smooth, too symmetrical. Touch it. The metal warms, fingerprints lingering like wet clay. Historians still argue whether 15th century Norse traders mistook Greenland's ice caves for Valhalla's gates. You're pretty sure they never tripped over an alien reactor core. A hatch hisses open, steam enveloping you. The corridor inside glows faintly blue, walls ribbed like whalebone. Gravity shifts. Suddenly you're walking on the ceiling. Or is it the floor? Your hair levitates, static making it crackle. Next time you tell the universe, just send a postcard. Panels flicker with glyphs, sharp angles, and concentric circles. They rearrange as you pass, a syntax colder than the tundra outside. One symbol persists, a helix entwined with a crescent. You've seen it before, scratched onto Neolithic bone flutes and Tesla coils. The ultimate copycat. Rooms branch off, cryopods frosted shut, control consoles, sprouting violet fungi. A screen flickers. Security footage shows walruses methodically dismantling a rover, their tusks prying off alloys. The time stamp, 1962. Someone's been skipping declassification deadlines. The engine core looms ahead, a column of swirling plasma contained by magnets. Prayers. The hairpin in your pocket vibrates, pulling you toward a control module. Its interface swims with living Mercury, shaping itself into buttons and levers. You press one. A holomap flares constellations labeled in Sanskrit. A thump. Behind you, a vent cover clatters down. A fox slinks out, fur dusted with snow. It eyes the hairpin. Not a chew toy, you warn. The fox yawns, revealing a silver-capped molar. Fringe theorists claim Soviet spies implanted Arctic fauna with listening devices. This one seems overdue for a dental checkup. The floor quakes. Ice cracks outside, a deafening thwang like a snapped piano wire. The map zooms in a blinking dot near France Joseph Land. Coordinates match a Nazi weather station abandoned in 44, or as you call it, Tuesday's problem. Alarms shriek. The fox bolts, knocking over a canister. It rolls, spewing neon pink fluid that devours the floor. You sprint, leaping over molten craters. The auroras blaze brighter, their light now intentional. A voice booms from nowhere and everywhere. Unauthorized biomatter detected. Biomatter. You skid around a corner. I canceled my gym membership. A laser grid slices the corridor, scorching your sleeve. The hairpin flares its glow, dissolving the beams. You vault through the gap, crash into a storage alcove. Shelves hold rows of eggs, smooth and opalescent, pulsing gently. One cracks, a tentacle flicks out. Nope, deep, deep nope. The core's hum spikes, a headache clawing your temples. Static rasps over hidden speakers, 87% containment failure. You spot a service shaft, ladder rungs leading up. Climb. Harsh wind blasts your face. The exit deposits you on the starship's hull. Auroras ripple inches overhead, ions sizzling in your nostrils. The engine's glare paints the ice below blood red. A shadow detaches from the starship, sleek and angular to circle you. The fox perches on a thruster nozzle, grooming its paw. Its tag glints, property of GRU. Please return if found. The ice splits, revealing a yawning hangar below. Ships cluster there, some Viking longships fused with titanium hulls, others pure light. Your hairpin tugs downward, a homing signal. You jump, plummeting toward the armada, as the starship's alarms fade into the polar wind. One thought lingers: how the hell walrus tusks open alloy hatches. Unsolved mysteries, man. Silk sticks to your sweat-damp palms, the threads glinting like liquid metal. Flickering lamps cast the loom's shadow, a skeletal giant against rough plaster walls. Shuttles dart left, right, their wooden clicks echoing a Stone Age drumbeat. You blink. The hangar's icy roar fades, replaced by the scent of hot wax and mulberry leaves. One heartbeat, you're free-falling through alien ships. The next, trapped in a tapestry. A girl kneels by the loom, no older than 12, her fingers flying through emerald threads. She doesn't glance up. Persian silk, she says. 4th century BCE. Traded for Sogdian horses and rhinoceros horn. Historians still argue whether the Silk Road carried more spices than lies. The girl shrugs, knotting a crimson strand. Lies drape warmer. The loom itself stuns you, golden beams carved with intersecting dragons and hexagons. Its heddles gleam like knife edges. You hunker down, palms hovering over the warp. It vibrates same frequency as your star-scorched hairpin. A nice decor. The shuttles pause mid-click. Something scuttles in the rafters. A black cat drops onto the loom, its collar flashing GRU-1943. It bats at a dangling thread, every swat twisting the pattern. The girl hisses, slapping its paw. Tibetan temple cats, she mutters. Bred to guard against fabric moths. Also terrible gossips. You file that under unexplained phenomena to annoy scholars with later. Threads snag your wrist, pulling you closer. Images bloom in the weave, a chariot engulfed in flames, a monk scribbling equations on rice paper. Your fingertips brush a cobalt pattern, and suddenly you're choking on desert sand. A camel spits in your face. The girl yanks you back. Patterns hold memories, she says, even stupid ones. You glance at the wall. A half-finished tapestry depicts your own fall through the ice. Captioned, "Idiot with hairpin circa now." Flattering. She smirks, tugging a thread, until your tapestry self trips over a walrus. A rasp comes from the corner. The GRU cat drags a ledger open with its teeth, pages crammed with moth wings. Each wing bears a name. Liu Xiaqiang, 605 CE. Orders, 50 bolts imperial yellow. Pre-stained with pomegranate. Accident. Fringe archivists insist the Tang Dynasty outsourced assassination, plots to weavers. The cat meows, pointedly licking a wing labeled current client. The loom creaks, shuttles accelerating. Gold thread suddenly outnumbers silk. Trouble, the girl growls. The cat hisses back arched. Your hairpin flares, searing through a silk strand. The vision hits hard, a Ming-era workshop, overflowing with SPF 60 rice paper, patent pending. A banner above the dyer's vats declares innovation or death. Reality snaps back. The loom's beams splinter, gold, melting into the floorboards. The girl hurls a shuttle at the cat. You disrupted the balance. You counter with logic. Run. She doesn't argue, grabbing a jade box from beneath the loom. 3 heartbeats later you're sprinting through a bamboo grove, moonlight slicing through leaves. The girl clutches the box, its carvings matching your hairpin's helix and crescent. Silkworm eggs, she pants, genetically modified by Empress Lu in 195 BCE. They spun titanium. You miss when history stayed politely dead. The cat overtakes you, turning to yowl at a thunderous crash. The loom's remnants combust behind you, flames weaving themselves into Han-era script. Poetry or death threat. The universe declines to specify. You skid to a halt, facing a cliff. The girl opens the jade box, rolling an egg toward the edge. It hatches midair, a silkworm unfurling wings of translucent silk. It's the size of a hang glider. The GRU-cat leaps, claws hooking the worm's thorax. You grab the girl's hand and jump. Wind roars. The silkworm banks hard, shedding golden cocoon strands. They spiral downward, catching moonlight like DNA helixes. You glance back. The fire's glow fades, loom now a speck on the dark horizon. The girl shouts over the wind, "Next time, don't touch the merchandise." You almost laugh. Too busy not puking. The silkworm's wings falter, dipping sharply toward a crumbling ziggurat. You brace as its belly skims pyramid stones, sparking like flint. The girl's grip slips. "Not again," she groans, voice swallowed by wind. You crash land in a dust storm, air thick with shredded papyrus. A moth-eaten tapestry billows ahead, depicting Alexander the Great's librarians, indexing scrolls by scent. Mainstream academia loves that tidbit, turns out old parchment, reeked of sheep fat and crushed myrrh. The GRU-cat sneezes, dislodging a sandstone slab. Beyond it, a cavernous hall. Shelves stretch into darkness, each holding clay tablets and bamboo slats. You step inside, sandal kicking up centuries of dust. Particles swirl, catching slanted sunlight like tiny holograms. One mote floats near your nose, a microscene of Vikings arguing over cucumber recipes. Historians still argue whether the Norse actually hated vegetables or just had terrible soil. The girl flicks the mote away. Focus. Touch nothing. Too late. Your sleeve brushes a Sumerian tablet, its cuneiform suddenly glowing molten gold. The air shimmers, you're thrust into a bustling marketplace. A merchant shouts, offering authentic dragon molars spoiler, whale vertebrae. Someone shoves past, spilling frankincense that sears your nostrils. The GRU-cat yowls, biting your ankle, and blam. Back in the library, the girl glares. Sacred rules here. Knowledge isn't passive, it interacts. She nods to a waist-high pillar, its surface etched with spirals. Alexandria's memory engine. Mind you rest a hand on it. The pillar rotates, clicking through languages, like a metaphysical Rolodex. A voice booms. Kappa Upsilon Rho Iota Epsilon. Eta Delta Iota Kappa Eta, Sigma Alpha Sigma, Gamma Iota Alpha. Overdue scrolls. Is 2,300 years late. You snatch your hand back. Since when do libraries time travel finds? Since always. She points to a mosaic floor, its tiles forming a giant asterisk. Scholars think it's a star map. Jokes on them, it's a snack menu. See, she stomps a tile, labeled honeyed lotus root. A hidden alcove disgorges a ceramic jar, contents long petrified. The cat bats it, sending desiccated figs skittering. Something hisses in the shadows. A pair of obsidian eyes gleam, followed by 6 more. Scorpions emerge, each carrying clay tablets on their backs. One crawls onto your foot, its pincers gripping a tiny stylus. Librarians, the girl whispers. Don't make sudden moves. You freeze. The scorpion inspects your shoes, scribbling on its tablet. It stamps the verdict with its tail. Footwear subpar. Sanctions. 1. Mandatory lecture on Third Dynasty footwear. The GRU-cat swipes at it, triggering a metallic clang from above. A brass pendulum swings into view, its tip dripping black ink. It hovers over a pristine parchment. The girl pales. Oracle's quill wrote half of Plato's lost dialogues and a very saucy review of Babylonian bathhouses. She edges backward. It's opinionated. The quill dives, scribbling furiously. Words materialize. The intruder with the cat exhibits poor life choices. Also, stop hoarding borrowed papyri. Claudius. Final warning. A mosaic tile flips, revealing a chasm. Claudius's, mummified, remains glare up, arms clutched around a moldering scroll. You sidestep the pit, bumping into a low shelf. A bamboo codex tumbles, its twine snapping. Staves clatter, each carved with melodies. The notes hang midair, playing themselves as glowing runes. A dirge swells, cellos made of echo, wall torches gutter. The girl grabs your elbow. That's a funeral song for drowned philosophers. Run. Now. The music twists, gaining physicality. It presses against your ribs, a cold, sonorous weight. The GRU-cat sprints ahead, tail sparking against stone. You pass murals of scholars being chased by manic liars, an oddly specific cautionary tale. The quill gives chase, ink splattering like angry rain. A droplet hits your wrist, burning into skin. Your arm jerks, autonomously sketching a perfect map of Carthage. It's branding me. The girl tosses a fig at the quill. You're lucky. Last guy got a treatise on sewer rats in iambic pentameter. Ahead, moonlight. An exit draped with rotting velvet. You burst through, rolling onto sun-warmed grass. The quill halts at the threshold, spelling out coward in midair before retreating. Silence. The library's shadow looms, a silent predator. Your inked arm twitches, Carthage's harbors glowing faintly. The girl snaps a reed, dipping it in dew. Hold still. She scrubs your skin, revealing tiny war elephants marching toward Rome. The cat yawns, licking ink off its claws. Wind shifts, carrying salt and charcoal. Somewhere distant, waves crash against cliffs. The girl turns profile sharp against the horizon. Next stops worse. She pockets the reed. Ever been cursed by a lighthouse? You stare at your map arm. One elephant trips over an unseen obstacle, glaring up at you accusatorily. The GRU-cat purrs its collar, now reading BFF 2024. You sigh, following the girl toward the scent of burning cedar. The cedar smoke parts, revealing a slate-roofed tea house. Its paper doors shiver in the breeze, each panel painted with cranes mid-flight. You step onto creaking planks, the scent of burnt wood sharpening into something greener. Wet stone, freshly grated ginger. The GRU-cat sneezes, its claws snagging your sleeve. Inside, a single beam of light cuts through shadow. A woman kneels by a black lacquered table, her hands moving like paired herons. Steam spirals from an iron kettle, its shape mimicking Mount Fuji's slopes. You've heard this before. Matcha's story starts with a 12th century monk smuggling tea seeds from China. Mainstream stuff. But here's the kicker. That monk, Isai, also claimed powdered tea could let you survive without food for 10 days. Try that at brunch. The tea master's whisk hisses through liquid, 100 rapid arcs. The froth rises, tiny bubbles forming hexagonal patterns. Looks like quantum foam, you mutter. The girl elbows you. Shut it. This ceremony's older than your addiction to energy drinks. A click. The master sets down her chasen, its bamboo tines worn from 87 years of use. Historians still argue whether these whisks outlive their makers or just retire. She slides a bowl toward you, its glaze the exact jade of shallow Caribbean coves. The GRU-cat dips a paw, freezes when the liquid reflects its eyes back twofold. You take a sip. Bitter, then sweet, then floral, like someone compressed spring's first cherry bloom into a grenade. The master tilts her head, waiting. Tastes expensive. The girl facepalms. She's not your sommelier. Bo, say Atsuker-sama des Hida. Too late. The master's sleeve flicks, revealing an arm mapped with scarred kanji. One symbol glows faintly, Chinese letter loneliness, or maybe rust. Scholars go feral over that distinction. She lifts the kettle, pouring a slow arc into a stone basin. The water's song shifts, a low D sharp you feel in your molars. Something stirs under the table. A badger-sized tanuki statue blinks, its ceramic paws clutching a stolen tea scoop. The GRU-cat pounces, knocking it over. A hidden compartment spills 3 desiccated crickets and a scroll titled The Forbidden Perks of Caffeine. Courtesans. Diaries 1480. 1492. The master snatches it back, her cheeks flushing lotus pink. Okay, but you point to the now cracked tanuki. How ancient is that? The girl inspects the shards. Prieto, worth your soul, she grins. Also, its tail's hollow, perfect for smuggling sencha. The master claps once sharp. Shadows congeal into a parchment screen. It flickers, showing samurai sipping tea before battles, their lips stained witch green. One warrior's aura flares crimson, the matcha acting as a berserker serum. Now that's a side effect TikTok hasn't discovered. You reach for the bowl again, freeze. Your reflection's wrong. Too many teeth. Eyes spiral slit like a raptor's. The girl sloshes tea over the rim. Don't stare. It's just the Kocha. Thick tea shows your true face. She leans closer. Mine's way worse. The master stands her kimono, rustling like autumn leaves. She glides to a cedar chest, removes a nested set of jars. Each opens with a musical note, D minor for sencha, B flat for hajaja. The last containers sealed with braided human hair. Even the GRU-cat backs away. Best not, the girl whispers. That's Kocha fermented for 50 years in a priest's tomb. Tastes like regret and toenails. The master smirks, twisting the lid. A smell oozes out pickled dreams and mothballed regrets. You gag, polite but emphatic. A gong resonates deep enough to shake loose your fillings. The master freezes her gaze, snapping toward the ceiling. Dust sifts down, forming kanji in midair. Intruder. West quadrant. The GRU-cat arches, hissing at a figure in the doorway. Moonlight outlines a silhouette, wide-brimmed hat dripping rain. A farmer's straw coat. An 8-sided cup glows in his grip, its contents swirling like molten mercury. The girl swears under her breath. Mori Soikin, tea bandit, steals terroir literally. The master slams her chasen down, splitting the table. But the thief is faster. He upends his cup, a metallic wave surging across the floor. It licks at the hearthstones, snuffing the fire mid-crackle. The room plunges into cold blue dark. You stumble back, hitting a shelf. Clay jars topple, shards and dried leaves snowing down. The GRU-cat yowls, a sound like failing brakes. When vision returns, the thief is gone. So is the master's hair-sealed Kocha. The girl kicks a shattered urn. That brew could have dissolved a castle gate. Now what? The master kneels, sweeping debris into precise piles. She pauses, plucks a single tea stalk from the wreckage, holds it to the moon. The leaf glimmers, veins pulsing faintly gold. A map, a spell. Either way, it's pointing northwest, toward storm clouds coiled like a sleeping dragon. The GRU-cat bats it from her hand, stomps the shreds. Message received. Wind howls, tearing the shoji screens. Rain pours in horizontal and ice cold. You shiver, clutching the empty tea bowl. The master's already moving her steps, silent, on the flooded floor. She pauses at the threshold, glances back. Her eyes flash, not a challenge, an invitation. Somewhere beyond the storm, a stolen brew steeps. The girl cracks her knuckles. Time to caffeinate vigilante style. You sigh, wiping matcha sludge off your jeans. The GRU-cat sneezes, sending a cricket carcass flying into the gloom. Rain slicks your skin, cold and relentless. The stolen Kocha's absence hums in your bones, a phantom caffeine ache. Pink lotus petals swirl underfoot, guiding you into a fog-draped maze. Each step squelches mud, sucking at your soles like hungry mouths. The GRU-cat rides your shoulder, hissing at petals that brush its ears. Moss-coated walls rise, twisting pathways lined with stone lotuses. Their petals drip iridescent liquid, moonlight refracting into fractured rainbows. You pause, counting 7 overlapping shadows. Did Tang Dynasty herbalists really use these blooms? The girl flicks water from her sleeve. Lotus rhizome tea. 800 years of curing everything from insomnia to heartbreak. Mainstream medieval Tylenol. A petal drifts onto your palm, translucent as rice paper. It pulses once, faint gold veins, mapping a root. The GRU-cat bats it away, claws snagging your thumb. Easy historians still argue whether these mazes were meditation aids or spirit traps. The girl kneels, prodding a petal with her dagger. Bet both. Ever met a monk who didn't love multitasking? Water shivers ahead, a black pool dotted with closed lotuses. Their stems glow, bioluminescent blue coils under the surface. You crouch, fingers skimming the water. Ripples distort your reflection, eyes oblong, jaw elongated. The cat swats your ear. Stop narcissisting. Those seen vegetation mirrors. They show what's following you. You whirl, see only mist. 3 paths branch left, each lined with carved guardians. The first, statues missing its nose. The second hums, vibrating at a migraine-inducing frequency. The third's covered in gum. The girl snickers. 12th century vandalism. Teens never change. She taps the humming statue. Silence falls like a curtain. Ahead, a pavilion rots on stilts. Its rafters sag, strung with jars clinking in the wind. The master strides toward it, her sandals leaving no prints. Inside, a loom-sized sundial crusted in algae. She traces its corroded characters, Guangzhou etched beside a lotus bloom. Gotta love how every ancient thing ties back to tea trade roots, you mutter. The GRU-cat thumps your spine, demanding forward motion. Your toe catches something, a half-buried shard glinting wet. Ceramic, same as the cracked tanuki. The master freezes, plucking it from the muck. Her scarred kanji pulses, Chinese letter dissolving into Chinese letter. Steadfastness or stubbornness. Scholars still fistfight over translations. Wind shifts, lotus scent sharpens into burnt sugar. The maze walls writhe, stone petals grinding sideways. Paths reconfigure, a dizzying click-clack of hidden gears. Moon-tracked navigation, the girl yells over the noise. Craftsmen timed these shifts with tidal charts clickbait for middle-aged alchemists. You duck. A stone blossom swooshes overhead. The GRU-cat leaps, chasing a glowing frog through freshly opened passage. You follow ankles deep in now warm water. The pool's center holds a pedestal, its surface pitted by weather. On it, a teacup encasing a single firefly. The master exhales, steam curling from her lips despite the chill. Don't touch that, the girl warns too late. Your fingertip brushes the cup. The firefly explodes, ash swirling into a miniature typhoon. It forms characters, thrice brewed, twice stolen. The GRU-cat sneezes, dispersing the message. Smart. A gong echoes, this time from underwater. The pool drains, revealing spiral steps slick with algae. The master descends, her kimono's hem disintegrating on contact. You hesitate. The girl shoves you forward. Lotus roots are 90% air. Worry less, float more. Below, a flooded chamber lit by floating lanterns. Their paper bears Edo period ads for noodle shops. Classic. At the room's heart, a bronze cauldron steams with neon green liquid. The thief's 8-sided cup floats inside, still swirling with mercury-bright contents. The master lunges her hand, closing over the cup. Shadows detach from the walls, skeletal figures draped in rotting tea sacks. Their fingers elongate, bone segments clicking like abacus beads. The girl unsheathes her dagger, its blade etched with caffeine molecules. Anyone bring a spare exorcism chant? No. Improv it is. The GRU-cat yowls, leaping onto a lantern. It tips, flames catching a tea sack. The specters scatter, hissing as fire illuminates their hollow faces. One pauses, its eye sockets reflecting yours. Too familiar. The girl slices its ankle. It crumbles into peppercorns and rust. The master seizes the cup, draining its contents into the cauldron. Liquid solidifies, a jade obelisk sprouting lotus buds. She snaps one off, tossing it into your hand. Chew now. The petal melts on your tongue, earthy, metallic, electric. Your vision flares, the maze's true layout overlaying reality. A pulsing thread of gold leads westward through 3 walls and a subterranean river. The master nods, satisfied. Kocha's close. Also your drooling neon. The girl sighs. Lead the way, bioluminescent boy. Above, rain drums harder. Somewhere, a thief's laughter echoes. The GRU-cat bats a lantern into the water, plunging you into a dark only matcha drinkers could love. You trip over a coiled mainspring, its rusted ends snagging your sleeve. The workshop materializes around you, dust, motes frozen mid-fall, pendulums stalled at unnatural angles. A grandfather clock looms, its pendulum replaced by a mummified weasel. The girl pokes its tail. 16th century troubleshooting. Rodent-based counterweights kept better time than brass. 3 workbenches curve like crescent moons, each littered with dismembered timepieces. The GRU-cat leaps onto a stack of pocket watches. Pause, triggering a cascade of tinny alarms. Off, hisses the master, her kimono now patched with sundial fragments. You lift a screwdriver, its handle whittled from narwhal tusk. Historians still fistfight over whether medieval horologists really used unicorn parts. A cuckoo clock coughs, wooden bird missing its head. The girl blows sawdust from its gears. All looks like your last relationship. Your laugh startles a spider. Its web spans 2 broken chronometers. Wind rattles leaded windows, each pane warped into a liquid hourglass shape. The master sweeps aside a moth-eaten blueprint, revealing a floor hatch. Its lock accepts her finger bone, smooth click echoing too loudly. Stairs spiral downward, walls lined with watch faces glowing foxfire green. The GRU-cat's fur stands up, electrified by unseen currents. Below, a vault door looms, engraved with celestial maps, and a 3-headed otter. The master traces Ursa Major's snout. Clockmakers doubled as astrologers. Village councils paid them to predict harvests and cheat at horse races. The door creaks, open molten beeswax scent overwhelming. Inside the true workshop, gears large as millstones hover midair, teeth interlocking without axles. A tapestry depicts a laughing man feeding cucumbers to a brass tortoise. The girl snorts. Jacques de Vaucanson's duck gets all the press. Nobody remembers his drunk vegetable obsession. Your pocket watch trembles its casing, peeling back to reveal ant-sized scribes inside. They ink equations across miniature parchment, each stroke syncing with your pulse. The GRU cat bats at them, pausing when one offers a scroll no bigger than an eyelash. The master clears her throat, gesturing to a cathedral-like structure ahead. Its spires are stacked hourglasses, sand flowing upward. A cloaked figure crouches beneath it, stitching a leather belt into the mechanism. Mainsprings fail, but human tendons never. Her voice grates like an overwound music box. Shadows twist, spooling from the figure's needle. They wrap your ankles, heavy as chains. The girl slices through them, twirling her dagger. Creative outsourcing. Zurich guilds fired him for using cadaver ligaments in tower clocks. The GRU cat hisses, hair sparking static. You step closer, avoiding pools of molten silver. The figure's hood slips, revealing a face layered like onion skin. Youthful cheeks, wrinkled brow, child's lips. His hands stitch faster. I preserved them their moments. The master flicks a gear fragment, scattering his threads, but erased your own. The cathedral clock shudders, hourglasses exploding into silica mist. Sand grates your teeth, tastes like burnt toast. The figure unravels, skin peeling into calendar pages. 1845, 1912, 1984. Dates dissolve as they hit the floor. A tiny bell chimes above. The GRU cat pounces, knocking a key from the rafters. It lands in your palm, warm and slightly sticky. The master nods. Bone porcelain, fired in dragon kilns. You insert it into your watch, gears accelerating into a blurred hum. Reality stutters. Now you're beside a Chinese letter C, LOCKT, OWER, under Midas gold moonlight. The girl leans on its bricks, plucking thistleweeds. Vienna's anchor took 10 years to build. Has 12 apostles that disappear into a literal clock hole every noon. Fight me, that's peak engineering. The GRU cat bats your heel, urging you forward. Cobblestones morph into tessellated watch faces, each ticking at conflicting tempos. A shop sign creaks, Maury and Phil's horlogerie fantastique. Through its window, a woman adjusts a star chart. Her left eye ticks, irises segmented like an orrery. The master freezes. Daughter. Her whisper rustles every paper in the street. The woman looks up, gears in her neck whirring. She smiles, too many teeth, and pulls the shop's shutters closed. A closed sign flips, its letters squirming into a new message. Follow the namesake. Bells toll 7 times, each strike peeling a layer of rust from the clock tower. The GRU cat arches, its silhouette now winged against the moon. You whisper, he said tendons never fail. The master grabs your wrist, her pulse mismatched to the world's rhythm, but they ache. Mist rolls in thick with the tang of oxidized copper. Somewhere, a loom weaves seconds into minutes. Somewhere else, a weasel chews through fate's mainspring. You touch the bone key, still warm. Time, it seems, has jokes. Reeds whisper against the hull, their rustle syncs with your pulse. The papyrus boat glides, moonlight turning Nile water to liquid mercury. Silver fish dart below their scales, catching star glow like tiny shields. You dip a hand, the river's chill sharp, as mint leaves crushed underfoot. That bone key warms in your pocket, still humming from the clock tower's collapse. A shadow stirs on the west bank, too tall for any living man. Lapis, lazuli crown, crook and flail crossed over its chest. Historians agree ancient pharaohs sailed this stretch for coronations, gods, approval written in flood patterns. Your boat drifts sideways, currents nudging you toward the silhouette. The water here tastes different, hints of silt and myrrh. He's been tailing us since Memphis, you mutter, as if the Egyptian king cares about your pitiful timeline. Something bumps the hull. Not a fish. You lean over, face inches from the surface. A submerged statue grins up, its quartz eyes reflecting your startled blink. KH you breathe, god of river sources and really bad swim dates. The Shadow King raises his flail. Frogs erupt from the reeds, a squelching, croaking curtain. One lands on your shoulder, its cold belly pulsing like a faulty metronome. You flick it off, Nile's idea of a prank. Now you spot them carved into the bank. Dozens of false doors, stone rectangles etched with hieroglyphs. Each marked with the same offer. Speak your true name, enter eternity. Archaeologists found these near every noble's tomb, spiritual guest books for the afterlife. The boat grinds onto sand. You stumble ashore, a carved scarab crunches under your sandal. The shadow keeper points west, dunes ripple like a shaken bedsheet. Sand stings your eyes, smells of burnt cinnamon. Some scholars insist the pyramids were grain silos. Arguments lasted longer than the actual civilization. A hot wind carries voices, not yours, not the king's. High-pitched, giggling, 7 ibis chicks waddle past, their beaks clutching lotus flowers. One trips, sending petals spiraling. You pocket a blossom, its scent curves like a question mark. The shadow crooks a finger, sand shifts to reveal steps. Down you go into a corridor painted with stars. Constellations swim across the ceiling, Orion thrusting his spear into a hippo's belly. Someone's artistic license, expired mid-mural. Deeper now. Braziers ignite, flames green as malachite. Walls whisper, phosphorus paint, murmuring market prices from 1894. 3 copper deben for a cedar comb, 2 jars of honey for a Nubian babysitter. A chamber opens, centered on a stone bed. No mummy, just a single faience bead, turquoise glaze cracked with age. Your fingers close around it, ants pour from the cracks. They march up your arm, each clutching a grain of 35-century-old wheat. The shadow keeper materializes beside you, cold, radiating through his silhouette. His hand hovers over yours. Ants freeze mid-step. Receipts, he hisses, voice like papyrus unrolling. Turns out pharaonic tax records were stored in tomb walls, death and debt, forever entwined. A cricket chirps, its echo twists into a woman's laughter. The bead crumbles, ants dissolve into ink blots, wall paintings ripple, queens and scribes step free. They haggle with vendors, only they can see, trading linen for leeks, amulets for apologies. The shadow keeper's flail taps your shin, gold bands materialize there. Ankles of the living aren't tax exempt. You quip regretting it instantly. He tilts his head, sand pours from his collar. Back outside, dawn bleeds across the river. The boat's gone. So's the king. Only wet reeds remain shaped into a cryptic glyph. You kneel, traced finger, revealing a bronze key beneath mud. Its teeth match the scarab's wing case. Clicking open some door you'll inevitably regret finding. Water laps your ankles, suddenly warm. A crocodile glides past, red paint flaking off its snout. Priests once decorated sacred reptiles with ochre, walked them through temples like scaly celebrities. This one eyes your new key and winks. Flames lick the kiln's belly. Their glow paints your palms crimson. Molten glass swirls on the pipe's end, a sapberry-hued teardrop poised to spill. You exhale slow, steam rising from the quenching trough, curls like a beckoning finger. The workshop hums, old brick walls soaked in centuries of heat. A mosaic above the forge shows Roman craftsmen, togas hitched up to avoid ember burns. Historians credit 1st century empire glassblowers for inventing distortion-free windows, though good luck finding any intact. Eyes on the gather, growls the master voice, raspy as pumice stone. Her tongs snatch the blob midroll, twirling it into a spiral. 17 seconds before it stiffens, count M or eat the loss. You lean into the glory hole's mouth, cheeks roasting like festival chestnuts. The glass blooms, a bulbous vase taking shape. Someone in Murano once crafted a goblet so thin it shattered when a soprano hit high C. True story. Or tavern gossip. Hard to tell after 3 flagons of Asiatico. Iron molds line the shelves, their floral patterns worn smooth. You grab one stamped with lilies, press it against the glass. A hiss, a puff of steam smelling like burnt sugar. Your sleeve catches fire. 5th rule, barks the master, dousing your arm with vinegar. Wool burns, linen smolders. Always dress for disappointments. She nods at your charred cuff, though some learn slower than others. The vase's neck stretches taut as a gambler's smile. You marver it against a slab of cherry wood, sweat dripping onto the surface. Each droplet sizzles, etching tiny craters. Scholars still argue whether Renaissance glass flaws were mistakes or secret signatures, cooling racks groan under their crystal cargo. One piece catches your eye, a chalice veined with gold. Swirling techniques off, mutters the master. 12th century Venetians used crushed lapis, modern hacks just add glitter. She spits into the ash pile, and midnight chimes from a soot-caked clock. The kiln dims, embers winking out one by one. You trail a finger through stone dust, it parts like flour. Or cocaine. Not that you'd know. A moth drifts into the dying light, wings powdered with cobalt. It lands on the annealer, antennae twitching at the residual heat. Careful, friend, you whisper. That's 300 degrees of bad life choices. The master slumps onto a stool, rolling a drop spindle between her palms. Final lesson, she wheezes. Every glassblower leaves ghosts. She points to the shadows. You squint, the dark stirs. Figures materialize, semi-transparent apprentices, puffing phantom blowpipes. Their creations hover ethereal vases and goblets doomed to never hold wine. Or promises. Ignore them, says the master, yanking your focus back. She lobs a glass marble into the forge. It melts instantly. The smell recalls childhood, summers cracking open lightning stones. Your vase cools now, its surface hardening to a skin. Blue deepens to twilight. Imperfections emerge, a bubble here, a thumbprint there. Historians still argue whether Medici glassmakers buried their flawed works or just pawned them off to in-laws. The master flicks a chisel, snipping your piece from the pipe. It lands in the annealing oven, nestling into a bed of warm ash. Come back at dawn, she says. If it hasn't cracked, you've earned your lungs. Outside, the air bites sharp. Your hands tremble, adrenaline and heat sickness waltzing in your veins. A cart clatters past, loaded with ochre-tinted cullet. One shard glows, forming a winking eye. You toss it into the nearest fountain. Water hisses. The glass dissolves into milky swirls. A child's laugh rings out, or maybe just a nightjar's cry. Dawn finds you scrubbing kiln bricks, each scrape echoing through the empty workshop. The master snores upstairs, a sawmill lullaby. Your vase waits, perfectly intact and perfectly lopsided. She inspects it at noon, grunting approval. Not terrible, high praise. The ghosts applaud, soundless hands clapping. You bow, forehead brushing sawdust and regret. Rain taps the roof, drowning the forge's final whispers. The master hands you a key, its bow shaped like a tear. For the next fool, she says, try not to burn down Pisa. Outside, the alley smells of wet mortar and regret. A stray dog trots past, tail singed at the tip. You toss it a fragment of failed glass. It crunches happily, a snack made of light and poor decisions. The vase sits heavy in your satchel, a lopsided trophy. Its curve fits the crook of your arm like it's always been there. Like you've always been here. Lamplighters make their rounds, wicks flaring behind mica panes. One glass cracks, a jagged lightning bolt. You catch the keeper's eye, both of you grin. A flaw's just a story waiting to breathe. The canyon walls rise, blood red and brutal, against the pale sky. Your boots scuff the trail. Each step kicks up dust smelling of rust and rain-starved earth. The glass vase in your satchel sways, its uneven base tapping a Morse code against your hip bone. Wind whips through the gorge, a low thrumming that vibrates the oven's brick belly glows, embers nestled like red gold seeds beneath ash. Cinnamon stings your nose, sweet and sharp, as a Persian trader's ransom. Your palms press into dough, it sighs under your knuckles, springing back slow as a sleeping cat. 3 clay jars line the counter, poppy seeds, cardamom, and smuggled vanilla, beans sticky as tree sap. Moonlight slants through cracks in the shutters, striping the flour-dusted floor. You fold butter into the dough, slabs tearing like parchment, layers building 99 by 99. Historians still argue whether medieval bakers perfected flaky pastry or just stole the technique from Egyptian bread makers. Your pinky traces a spiral in the flour, a secret sigil for rising. Dough balls swell under linen cloths, plump as smuggler sacks. You hum a tavern tune, off-key, while measuring nutmeg with a rusted teaspoon. Did you know some 14th century bakers added hallucinogenic rye mold to bread? Customers reportedly saw angels in their sourdough, or maybe just rats wearing halos. Firelight licks the oven's blackened throat. You slide in a tray, metal clanging like a far-off church bell. Heat blushes the dough's pale skin, golden brown spreading slower than gossip at a royal court. The air thickens, caramelized sugar and burnt edges, the scent version of a wool blanket. Through the window, a shadow moves. The miller's daughter, or just an owl hunting field mice. You flick flour at the glass. A ghostly handprint smears the pane. Outside, the village sleeps, its dreams kneaded into the loaves, cooling on your rack. Ash drifts onto the hearthstone. You sweep it into a jar, baker's black gold for polishing silver. The last roll splits open, steam curling like a question mark. Yeast, nature's tiny alchemist, turns flour and regret into something edible. Dawn's first birdsong creeps through the walls. Your apron sags, dusty as a library book, as you stack warm buns in a willow basket. Some say the perfect spiral of cinnamon proves divine intervention. You say it's just good wrist work and not dropping the butter. The world narrows to blue, a cathedral of ice, pressing down walls veined with trapped air bubbles older than Rome. Your crampons squeak against frozen waves, each step crunching like celery, snapped in a silent kitchen. 23 layers of wool and goose down can't stop the chill. It slips through seams, nipping at your collarbone. A drip hits your forehead, meltwater from some far-off sunlit surface. You catch the next drop on your tongue. It tastes like distilled silence. Historians still argue whether medieval alchemists really stored philosophers' stones in glacial crevices, or just liked telling campfire stories. Your gloved hand brushes the wall, fingers tracing scars left by boulders dragged mile deep over centuries. The ice groans again, a bass note vibrating your molars. You press your ear to the wall. For a heartbeat, it sounds like monks chanting behind stained glass. Did you know 5th century shepherds believed glaciers were dragon bones. They'd sprinkle juniper berries into crevasses, offerings to melt the frost beast's heart. Your headlamp catches something gold aflash in the ice. Thumbnail-sized, a wheat kernel preserved since Charlemagne's reign. You squint. Is that a bite mark? Maybe a hungry crusader's last snack? Or just ice playing tricks? Around it, tiny bubbles spiral, a galaxy trapped in glass. A breeze ghosts past, impossible this deep down. It carries the mineral tang of ancient snow and something else. Lichen, iron deposits. Your nostrils flare, searching. 300 years from now, tour guides will claim this tunnel smells like lost weddings. The floor slopes suddenly, a slide of glass-clear ice. You crab walk sideways, boots skidding like a novice skater. Some climbers' frayed rope dangles from above, its ends fuzzy with frost beard. You count 17 knots, each icy bump a failed grip. A black shape looms ahead, a boulder suspended mid-plunge. Glacial pace, it'll touch bedrock around the year 3024. You duck under its shadow, cold radiating off granite like reverse sunlight. A fossilized fern pattern glimmers on its side, carbon dating's version of a grocery list. Meltwater trickles down your neck, an icy finger tracing vertebrae. You twist, catching the stream in your cupped palm. Your thermometer reads 34 degrees, barely above freezing. Yet here it flows, a liquid rebellion against physics. Scientists insist it's pressure magic, but you swear you hear it giggle. The tunnel widens, a chamber lit by ghostlight filtering through 9 feet of ice. A circle of stones rests on the floor too perfect for nature. Viking meeting spot, druid fridge. You kneel, brushing snowmelt from the largest rock. It leaves your fingertips tingling, as if you've touched a live wire. That's when you spot them, footprints. Bare human toes pressed into silt beneath clear ice, left by a sandaled wanderer when the glacier was young. Experts think they're Otto the Lames, that drunk noble who got lost hunting reindeer in 812 AD. You count 5 toes, all intact, frozen mid-step towards some forgotten horizon. Your breath fogs the ice, obscuring the print. When it clears, the toes seem closer. You blink. Trick of the light, obviously. But your pulse thrums now, syncing with the distant drip, drip, drip. 18 icicles tremble overhead, each a sword of Damocles made by a very patient god. Stale air clings to your lungs. You fumble for a mint, only to find it's fused to its wrapper by cold. The glacier creaks again, a sound felt more than heard. Some claim ice sheets sing in frequencies that curdle blood. You'd laugh if your teeth weren't too busy chattering Morse code for get out. The headlamp flickers, your cue to turn back. One last glance at the chamber, the stones now just blurry lumps. But as you retreat, the ice whispers, not whined words. Maybe remember or return, or just your brain short-circuiting from the cold. Either way, the taste of that meltwater lingers, sharp and sweet as a secret. Candle smoke curls around your head, a lazy halo in the astrologer's attic. You lean over vellum stretched taut, gold-dusted ink-mapping Scorpius claws. The comet's tail flicks your shoulder cold as moth wings before dissolving into the night. Medieval Persian astronomers tracked planetary motion using elephant-sized brass rings centuries before telescopes. You trace Sagittarius' arrow, its tip aimed at a coffee stain. Historians still argue whether that blot represents Halley's Comet or Sultan Mehmed's favorite wine spill. A draft sneaks through shutters, lifting the chart's edge like a petticoat. You pin it with an obsidian paperweight. Someone's left fingerprints in the margins, sticky with honey. Renaissance stargazers believed sugary fingers helped them taste celestial truths. You lick your thumb, trying to catch Jupiter's aftertaste. Just get pantry sweetness instead. Constellations shimmy when you blink. Virgo tiptoes left, Orion shrugs. Must be the incense. That, or the 3 goblets of spiced mead downed earlier. Overhead, real stars blur behind ancient rafters, the roof built with deliberate gaps. First light hits a copper sundial at dawn, its shadow pointing to whatever needs fixing that day. You squint at a squid-shaped smudge below Cassiopeia. Norse navigators swore sea monsters guarded the northern lights. This might be their doodle. The parchment ripples, inking Leo's mane into a frizzy perm. You snort, drawing cat whiskers on him. Midnight creeps closer. A bat crashes into the window, rebounds, flaps off muttering. The comet's afterglow lingers, a shimmer road across the inky void. Your candlewick sputters warnings 15 centuries ago. A Qing Dynasty astronomer burned his eyebrows off this way. Mainstream fact check mention the Library of Alexandria. No, irrelevant. Focus. You dip your quill into indigo. Last week's horoscope predicted unexpected liquids. You spilled goat milk on your boots. Now it says cosmic realignment. You doodle a comet wearing sunglasses. A floorboard groans behind you. The air smells of lavender and panic. That's the thing about star charts. They never show when your landlord's coming for rent. You flip the parchment, quick drawing a grocery list. Moon pies, you jot, then underline it twice. The quill snaps, splattering your sleeve with stardust blue. 14th century scribes used crushed lapis, lazuli, worth more than their daughters' dowries. You scrub at the stain. It winks back, a tiny galaxy blooming on your wrist. Wind howls through roof gaps. The chart whips sideways, smacking your forehead. Imagine dying via flying zodiac. Mortality drops its mic. You're just here trying to find Ursa Major's lost cub. 3 sheep graze in the meadow below, white blobs under indigo sky. Shepherds once paid astrologers to dye their flocks' wool constellation patterns. Huge mess when shooting stars happened. You sketch a polka-dotted ram, labeled Aries 2. Dawn's first blush stains the horizon. The comet's long gone off to photobomb someone else's eclipse. You roll the chart, tie it with all-feather twine. Your shadow stretches tired on the wall, a sagging question mark. Silk rustles behind a tapestry. Crushed lavender stems crunch underfoot. Budding astrologer or not, you know when to bail. You pocket the sunglasses-wearing comet sketch. Future, you'll appreciate the warning. Candle dies with a cough. The attic holds its breath. Gold ink glows faintly, constellations rearranging themselves now that no one's looking. Your boots crunch volcanic gravel, each step scattering moonlit dust. Quartz pillars rise around you, pale blue fingers piercing the sky. 16th century. Ming scholars mapped this valley. Their journals called it Earth's frozen breath. You press a palm to the nearest column. Coolness seeps through your glove. Rough ridges mimic bark, as if stone learned to mimic trees. A night blooming cereus unfurls nearby, scenting the air with lemon and regret. Victorians believed moonlight could crystallize inside quartz, transforming into soul ice. You chip a fleck off the pillar. It glows brighter in your hand. Historians still argue whether these formations are wind sculpted or the world's pettiest mountain range. Your canteen sloshes, water gone tepid hours ago. Zhou Dynasty alchemists drank from quartz cups, swore it purified lies from the blood. You take a sip, tastes like backpack plastic, and poor life choices. Wind whistles through narrow gaps, playing the pillars like bone flutes. The melody loops, 3 rising notes, then a sigh. 19th century explorers reported hearing whispered names in the gusts. You catch something that sounds like Agatha, or maybe I ate before the tune dissolves. Moss creeps up the western pillars, neon green against stardusted stone. Scientists insist it's bioluminescent lichen. The drunk Dutch botanist who discovered it called it dragon snot. You scrape some onto your compass. Needle spins wildly, settles pointing at your left boot. Something glints in the crevice above. You wedge your fingers in palm, grazing a smooth oval. Pull out a tortoise shell carved from milky quartz. 6 holes dot its surface, maybe a flute, maybe ancient augia board. Tang Dynasty diviners used similar shells to predict rainfall, also cheating spouses. A bat squeaks overhead, its shadow huge against the pillars. Your flashlight beam catches quartz veins pulsing faintly like slow lightning. Geologists blame trace uranium deposits. You blame the 3 energy drinks you sculled at sunset. The path narrows, forcing you sideways. Stone grazes your ribs, cold as a fridge magnet. 18th century poets compared these passages to walking through God's ribcage. You're pretty sure God flosses more often. Your hair lifts, static crackles in the air. A pillar gleams ahead, brighter than the rest. Qing scholars embedded copper wires here to conduct heavenly qi. You press your ear to the stone. A low hum vibrates your molars, B-flat maybe, or the mountain's stomach growling. Moonlight shifts, blue deepens to violet. The serious flower closes with a leathery sigh. Medieval mapmakers drew this valley as a dragon's spine, each quartz pillar a scale. You trace the grooves, wondering if dragons ever get scoliosis. A crunch behind you, pebbles skitter. You spin, flashlight slicing shadows. Nothing but your own shaky breath. 1920s adventurers swore they saw glass wolves. Here, quartzford, silver-eyed. You bend, pocket a sharp crystal fragment, just in case. Dew forms on the pillars, beating like sweat. You catch a drop on your tongue. Tastes like aluminum foil and nostalgia. Ming texts warned pilgrims not to drink stone tears. They'd calcify your whims. Too late now. The path dead ends at a slivered crack. Moonlight spills through, painting a wavering line on the gravel. You shed your pack, suck in, slide through sideways. Quartz scrapes your hip bone, cold biting through denim. Suddenly space. A circular clearing, pillars leaning inward like worshippers. At the center lies a shattered monolith, chunks shimmering wetly. Tang records mention a mirror stone, here said to show your death if you stared too long. You kneel, touch a shard. Your reflection splinters into 7 U's each, holding a different weapon. Wind dies, the flute song stops. Silence presses against your eardrums. Your flashlight dims, flickers, goes dark. 18th century oil lamps found here had wicks braided with human hair. You fumble for matches, find one bent at a guilty angle. The flame catches, revealing glyphs carved waist-high. Not Chinese, not any script you recognize. Squiggles, arrows, a stick figure crown. Historians still argue whether it's a boundary marker or Neolithic graffiti. You add a tiny, smiley face, balance restored. Dawn bleeds into the sky, quartz turning pink as raw salmon. Your shadow stretches thin, reaching for the broken monolith. A chip of mirror stone winks in your pocket, heavy as a casino token. You'll mail it to your ex, postage due. Birdsong erupts sharp and sudden. The pillars hum their farewell. You retrace your steps, gravel now warm underfoot. The stone forest watches you leave, each crystal spine tilting slightly, as if whispering to the next. The gravel path softens into loam, your boots leaving shallow prints in damp earth. A wood smoke sent threads through pine, drawing you toward a thatched hut. Inside, a wheel spins, lumps of clay becoming vessels under dirt-caked hands. Ming artisans perfected cobalt blue glazes here, their secret formulas stolen by Venetian spies. You watch the potter's thumbs sink into gray sludge, a bowl rising like magic. Crickets chirp in time with the wheel's creak. Shelves sag under jugs, some glazed midnight blue, others speckled with quartz dust. Medieval monks swore pottery could absorb sins, drinking from purification cups. To erase midnight indiscretions, you eye a chipped mug, wonder if it's soaked up centuries of bad poetry. The potter nods toward a stool, clay fingerprints staining its seat. You sit, knees protesting. Rotating discs always remind you of college ceramics class. And that ill-advised, mermaid-shaped ashtray. The wheel slows. He ladles water from a cracked gourd. Historians still argue whether this technology hopped continents or bubbled up in 5 places at once. A shard of stone forest quartz winks from a glaze bucket. You pocketed a piece hours ago. Now it feels like cheating on a test. The potter slaps down a new clay mound, centering it one hand Mid-century workshops buried flawed pots rituals to calm the earth's disappointment. Your hip still aches from squeezing through that quartz crack. His foot pump squeaks, rhythm syncopated with night insects. You count rotations, 17 per shaping phase. One vase collapses, slumping into a doughy pancake. He mutters what sounds like cow, tosses it into a slop bucket. 17 shatters later. A slender-necked jar emerges. Fingers carve spiral grooves, echoes of Neolithic symbols. Kiln embers glow orange through a rusty vent. Scientists recreated Ming blue using radioactive isotopes. Temporary museum displays only. You lean closer, inhaling mineral tang and wood ash. The potter flicks his wrist, sending droplets arcing onto your boots. For luck, he grunts first words in an hour. Your canteens, quartz-tainted water sloshes, suddenly suspect. Archaeologists found sin pots filled with medieval nail clippings, and one very confused hedgehog skeleton. You pocket a glaze-stained rag, souvenir or future evidence. Moonlight stripes the workbench, blue-toned as the Ming vases in your aunt's breakable cabinet. The wheel stops, silence rushing in like floodwater. He lifts the finished jar rim, still uneven. Imperfections baked in, proof of human hands. Tourists want factory precision. Historians crave these wobbles, time capsules of trembling fingers. Dawn pinks the eastern sky, crickets fading to daytime shifts. You stand, stool imprinting crosshatch marks on your thighs. The potter wipes tools on his apron, each stroke methodical. A bisqueware shard crunches underfoot, 19th century graffiti scrawled on its back. Zhao Hui was here, tell my wife I'm sorry. He gestures to the kiln invitation or warning. Heat licks your face, chest tightening. Shelves hold misfits, a lopsided teapot, a cup with handle askew. You point to a cracked figurine, rooster morphing into duck. He shrugs, tosses it into the fire. Clay remembers, he says, flames consuming the mistake. Your quartz piece warms in your pocket, pulse throbbing in time with the kiln's roar. 16th century guilds poisoned rivals by lacing glazes with lead. You cough, suddenly aware of every lungful. The potter smiles, teeth stained beetle nut red. Sunrise gilds the hut's roof. Drying clay on the wheel hardens to grit. He presses a palm-sized bowl into your hands, glaze pooling like frozen midnight. A hairline crack veins its base. For secrets, he says, turning back to the spinning disc. The hum resumes, crickets tuning up for tomorrow's nocturne. You walk east bowl cradled like a smuggled heart. Moonlight transforms the lagoon into liquid mercury, each ripple glinting like knife edges. Your toes squelch in silt, cold and granular as brown sugar. Waves push pearlescent shells against your ankles, their edges worn smooth by centuries of tides. Roman emperors once drugged divers with poppy wine, sent them grasping for mollusks in the Bay of Naples. A stingray glides past, winged shadow brushing your calf. You wade deeper, water climbing your thighs with glacial patience. Salt crusts your lips, reminding you of that overpriced margarita in Cancun. Historians still argue whether Chinese or Persian divers first cultivated pearls. A ND, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, until they cried iridescent tears. Something round grazes your foot, a pearl the size of a robin's egg. You freeze, half expecting sirens to burst from the foam. 16th century Venetian courtesans swallowed pearls in vinegar, believing they'd become living aphrodisiacs. The orb winks up at you, daring you to pocket it. Your fingers close around its slick surface, cold as glacier ice. 3 smaller pearls nestle nearby, aligning like Orion's belt in the muck. Local legends claim these formed from drowned stars, their light trapped in calcium prisons. You scoop them up, palms suddenly heavy with stolen constellations. Bioluminescent algae ignites, electric blue streaks zipping past your knees. 18th century sailors hallucinated mermaids here. Turns out it was just plankton and sleep deprivation. A wave slaps your ribs, pearls clicking like worry stones in your fist. The lagoon bed slopes sharply, water now lapping your collarbone. Your shirt floats upward, caressing your neck like seaweed. 17th century Japanese divers trained since childhood, their lungs conditioned through icy waterfall meditations. You suck air, suddenly aware of your own clumsy mammalian limits. Something vibrates beneath your feet, a subaquatic hum resonating through marrow. Industrial dredgers destroyed 98% of natural pearl beds by 1920. Your toes curl into sand, gritty reality check against the magic. A conch shell rolls into your hip, its spiral whispering ocean static. You press it to your ear, hearing disco beats instead of waves. Must be the sleep deprivation or that questionable gas station sushi. Moonlight fractures through the surface, dappling a stone altar below. Coral encrusts its edges, tiny polyps frozen midsway. Polynesian chiefs once offered pearls to shark gods here, fat drops sliding down carved jaws. You half expect a fin to cut the silver-plated water. Your fistful of pearls grows warm, pulses syncing with your heartbeat. Medieval Persians believed pearls could cure madness if ground with rubies and wolf's milk. The largest gem winks, its surface swirling like gasoline on asphalt. A current tugs you sideways, salt water stinging your eyes. You kick toward shore, pearls clutched like a lifeline. Blue-green phosphorescence marks your path, nature's version of runway lights. Your soaked shoes squelch onto sand, leaving trails like mutant duck prints. The lagoon stills, a mirror reflecting the Milky Way sprawl. 83 stars quiver in your palm's reflection, or is it 84? You lose count, and possibly consciousness, leaning against a moon-bleached driftwood log. Pearl dealers once hired deaf divers here, silence being cheaper than waterproof earplugs. Dawn bleeds into the horizon, pink and orange murdering the night's majesty. Your pearls glow faintly, their luster damp, but unbroken. Researchers recently proved they can record ultrasonic whale songs if you know how to listen. You press one to your ear, hearing only the hiss of your own foolish hope. Clouds smear the sunrise, cotton candy dissolving into drizzle. Your clothes cling, chafing with every step toward the tree line. Thatched roofs peek through palm fronds, promises of coffee and dry socks. The pearls click in your pocket, 7 hard little secrets against your thigh. Wind riffles the lagoon, etching temporary hieroglyphs on its surface. You glance back once, the water already erasing your midnight trespass. Fireflies pulse overhead, 23 living lanterns steering you through twisted vines. Mint slaps your shins, its sting sharper than grandma's arthritis cream. Jasmine coils around your ankles, botanical handcuffs, dragging you deeper into the green. 9th century Tang physicians prescribed licorice root for everything from coughs to heartbreak. Results may vary. You're half expecting Gandalf to pop out with a weed whacker. The path narrows, shoulders brushing plants that hum when touched. One leaf sticks to your palm, sweat activating its citrusy, chloroform stench. Local legends say firefly ash mixed with wine makes irresistible love potions more effective than tinder, allegedly. A jar glows ahead, capped with perforated tin like a hipster terrarium. Inside, bioluminescent beetles scritch against glass, prisoners in a tiny rave venue. Your breath fogs the surface, briefly dousing their light. Medieval monks believed swallowing fireflies cured stutters. Try explaining that to an ER nurse. The garden opens into a clearing, moonlight sieved through a bamboo sieve. Stone mortars squat like sleeping toads, their bellies stained turmeric yellow. You run a finger through one, ginger dust clinging under your nail. Historians still argue whether Tang Dynasty healers used glowworms to cauterize battle wounds. Something crunches underfoot, a dried chrysanthemum crown older than your student loans. Fireflies retreat as you kneel, leaving you in sudden darkness. Your elbow bumps a clay pot. It emits a bourbon and mothballs sigh. 18th century herbalists hid opium in these, the original energy drinks. A twig snaps. You spin toward rustling ferns. Just a frog wearing a shell hat. Its throat puffs, judging you harder than your vegan cousin. You toss a pebble. It plinks into a well that smells of wet pennies. Ming-era tea masters tossed pearls into similar wells to sweeten the water. The fireflies return, forming an arrow pointing uphill. Their light dims whenever you stray, passive-aggressive GPS. Your toe kicks a rusted scale, its brass plates etched with long-dead constellations. Apothecaries once weighed chamomile, here each gram priced in whispered secrets. Moss cushions your next step, a spongy surprise after miles of gravel. Night blooming Sirius unfurls nearby, petals squeaking like unoiled hinges. You half expect subtitles. Victorian ladies fainted at its scent, probably from corsets. Not floral drama. The jar's glow intensifies, backlighting a shack with slumped shoulders. Bamboo planks creak a protest as you mount warped steps. Inside, drying herbs dangle like executed witches, parsley nooses, and basil gallows. A moth flutters past, its wings dusted with something that makes your eyes water. Your pinky grazes a worktable sticky with crystallized honey and poor life choices. Shelves sag under blue and white jars, their labels inked with spidery calligraphy. One reads Silver Moon, containing what looks like albino raisins. Tang emperors paid their weight in jade for similar longevity pellets. The fireflies swarm a wrought iron hook, their combined light revealing a ledger. Pages list ingredients in columns: bat droppings, fermented persimmon, dragon's breath. The last entries cursive loops aggressively. Added extra crickets for zing. Dew soaks through your socks, reminding you of that questionable kayak tour. Outside, a clay furnace exhales smoke that smells like burnt marshmallows. You poke it, singeing a fingerprint into oblivion. Archaeologists found similar ovens buried with terracotta warriors, spiritual snacks for the afterlife. Moonlight arrows through a cracked window, spotlighting a mortar and pestle. You grind dried petals, the sound like skeletons chewing popcorn. Purple powder puffs upward, coating your nostrils in something hallucinogenic adjacent. A sneeze threatens. You fight it like a Spartan at Thermopylae. The fireflies dim dawn muscling in with peach-toned arrogance. Roosters crow somewhere distant, soundtrack to your herbal heist. You pocket a sprig of something fuzzy. It vibrates against your thigh. 17th century thieves lost hands for less. Hopefully inflation adjusted the punishment. Footsteps crunch gravel. You freeze mid-reach toward a jade vial. The fireflies scatter traitors. A silhouette fills the doorway, wide-brimmed hat shadowing its face. Your pulse ticks faster, an atom hammering against a uranium core. The figure extends a hand palm up, expectant. You surrender the stolen sprig, its leaves now glowing faintly. They tuck it behind their ear, a living brooch. Without a word, they point toward a path dotted with fading firefly corpses. Your retreat feels slower, gravity cranked up by humiliation. The garden gate creaks shut behind you, final as a coffin lid. Sunrise gilds the valley below its beauty, almost worth the allergic rash forming on your wrists. Fireflies wink out one by one. Nature's mic drop after the night's absurdity. Jasmine still clings to your collar, scented receipt for services rendered. You pluck a petal. It dissolves into gold-green dust on the wind. Somewhere downhill, a river chuckles at your escapades. Your pockets jingle with pilfered curios, each whispering worth it as you descend. Heat bleeds from the forge embers, collapsing into gray tombs. Your shadow stretches across anvils pockmarked like lunar skin. 16 bellows sag, leather lungs emptied of their last breath. Medieval smiths timed their hammer strikes to heartbeat rhythms, crafting blades said to pulse in sync with their wielders. A quenched sword hisses somewhere in shadow, steam unspooling like ghostly hair. You touch a cooling breastplate. Its etched vines frost your fingertips. Dying coals cast Rorschach shadows. Is that a rabbit or Winston Churchill? Tongs dangle above, iron chopsticks abandoned mid-bite. The floor crackles underfoot, a mosaic of nail parings and charcoal teeth. Your heel grinds a horseshoe nail, its U-shape warped from centuries of bad luck. Folklore claims unblessed nails become snake skeletons come dawn. A coal pops, spitting a glowing cherry into your path. Ash drifts like phantom snow onto your sleeve. Shelves sag under axe heads and gardening shears, retired claws of a metal beast. One blade bears a crescent notch, Viking wives marked tools to prevent dwarf tampering. Historians still argue whether Damascus steel patterns encoded secret smithing recipes. A workbench oozes candle wax, fossilized drips, trapping wood shavings. You pry one free, it smells of spruce and poor life choices. Beneath lies a ledger open to March 15th, 1789. Entries end mid-sentence. Caesar wasn't the only one with bad eyes. The quench tank reflects your face, rippled and soot-streaked like a failed oil portrait. You skim the water, finger-stirring rainbows of oil film. 18th century apprentices drank from similar tanks to absorb iron strength. Results included anemia and fantastic mustaches. Wind sneaks through a cracked window, whistling the 7-note tune of Greensleeves. A grindstone wobbles, its surface scarred by 10,000 blades. Your palm fits the depressions worn by dead men's hands. Industrial Revolution factories, band, singing smiths, claimed the vibrations ruined steel's temper. The forge exhales a final smoke ring, scented with regret and burnt oak. You pocket a twisted nail, its spiral daring someone to hang a curse on it. Moonlight silvers the rafters, exposing cobweb banners strung by arthritic spiders. Outside, a well wheel creaks, its bucket long since rusted into scrap. You lean over the rim, your voice echoing back as 3 separate whispers. Superstition says blacksmith wells lead to Hephaestus' basement workshop. The water winks, 1 star floating where the Big Dipper should be. Your stolen trinkets clink, a dissonant choir as you turn uphill. The village sleeps below, its windows shuttered against night's gossip. Gravel sticks to your soles, each step a crunchy indictment. Dawn licks the eastern sky, orange tongue, promising a day already half spent. A last ember winks out behind you, audience leaving a bad play. Your shadow walks ahead now, striding toward whatever's next with forged confidence. Mist swallows the bridge hole, each wooden plank sings underfoot like a wineglass rim. Your stolen nails clink in rhythm, tiny hammers striking anvils of air. Dawn's first light bleeds through clouds, gold thread, mending a tear in the sky. You pause mid-step. The fog licks your ankles with phantom tongues. 3 planks ahead, a chime hangs suspended in the vapor. 10th century Tang Dynasty engineers built chain bridges strong enough for tea caravans and divorcing spouses. Historians still argue whether these spans doubled as spiritual gateways or just toll booths with better PR. A gong shivers the mist, its vibration crawling up your spine. The sound matches Ming-era temple bells, but smells suspiciously of wet goat. Your left boot slips, grain twist, and suddenly you're eye level with a rusted bolt. Farmers once traded fog as currency. Here 2 jars of morning haze for a chicken. Market records burned in 1432, allegedly, by a disgruntled meteorologist. Wind parts the veil, revealing railings carved with plum blossoms and Wi-Fi symbols. Your fingernail catches on a character Leon for lotus, or maybe cheap knockoff calligraphy. The planks narrow, squeezing your stride into hesitant half-steps. 19th century poets claimed the bridge tuned itself to pedestrians' heartbeats, a theory ruined by that one guy with arrhythmia. Far below, water hisses like a spilled secret. You drop a stolen nail, count 7 heartbeats before the plink. 7 seconds means 7 years, bad luck, or 7 weeks of decent coffee. Folklore's unclear. A bat zips past, wingtip skimming your hair, leaving a snail trail of existential questions. Sunlight stabs through. The mist retreats like a startled squid. Ahead sprawls a pavilion roofed with turtle shells and regret. Your shadow stretches across its threshold, staining the wood like oversteeped tea. 3 stone steps lead up, their surfaces worn smooth by pilgrims and tax collectors. Inside, incense curls around a bronze gong the size of a hatchback. The striker's handle bears teeth marks, whether from tigers or disgruntled monks is anyone's guess. You trace the reliefs, dragon's scales giving way to tractors mid-carving. Modern restoration or ancient prophecy. The placards peeled beyond reading. Your pocket buzzes, the stolen nail vibrating like a deranged tuning fork. A crack splits the air, not thunder, but timber yawning. The bridge sways left, right, left, a drunken tightrope, walker's farewell tour. You cling to a railing post, its cedar scent clashing with your adrenaline sweat. Clouds coil around your knees, cold as refrigerated serpents. Somewhere ahead, wood creaks in the exact pitch of your childhood front door. Students of acoustics mapped haunted bridges. In 73, found wind patterns mimicking human whispers. Their report mysteriously drowned in a teacup. A finch lands on your shoulder, judging you with side-eye worthy of a subway commuter. Its feathers shimmer petrol blue, a color extinct since the last imperial dye vat exploded. The bird poops on your collar, a damp Rorschach blot resembling Napoleon's hat. Silver light floods the planks, the moon's second shift starting early. Your watch stopped 3 hours ago, its hands frozen in a shrug. Timekeepers here follow the rooster's crow system flawed since that epidemic of laryngitic poultry. The far shore materializes, a cliffside staircase scribbled into rock. Each step's edged with moss nature's non-slip grip tape. You glance back, the bridge dissolves into fog like cached browser history. Your pockets jingle with looted metal. A wind chimes autopsy kit. One final plank groans the sound, echoing 7 times. 7 echoes mean 7 blessings, or 7 moderately satisfying Tuesdays. The gong rings again, its vibrations unknotting your shoulder muscles against your will. Your toes touch solid earth, gravel crunching like a standing ovation. The mist unravels behind you, revealing empty air where planks once floated. Was the bridge ever really there? A question for philosophers and drunk engineers. A landslide of sunlight burying the ravine, stone steps warm under your palms. Your stolen treasures hum in unison, a chord that tastes of licorice and static. Somewhere beyond the ridge, wheat fields ripple like a giant's flaxen hair. The breeze carries a new sound, crickets tuning up for dusk symphony. You brush bat spit from your temple, the stain already hardening into a makeshift brooch. Historians still argue whether the Cloud Kingdom's gates ever truly opened, or just had really persuasive travel brochures. Your shadow walks ahead again, no longer mimicking your moves. It pauses at the first stair, head tilted, as if listening to faraway laughter. You follow, each step lighter than the last, as the bridge's final chime fades into the hum of hungry mosquitoes. Indigo bleeds through linen, its blues shifting like storm clouds over ocean. You dunk the fabric again, counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi wrist deep, in vats older than the Magna Carta. Experts think Edo period dyers could tell time by dye shades, dawn to dusk, encoded in azure gradients. Your sleeve snags on a bamboo pole. The clatter echoes like dropped silverware in a tomb. Ropes crisscross the ceiling, dripping cloths sway like ghosts, practicing synchronized swimming. A cat winds through your legs, its fur dyed accidentally cerulean last summer. Folklore claims such cats detect fake indigo, scratching merchants who cut their batches with woad. The vat gurgles, a sound halfway between a brook and a clogged drain. You lift the fabric, dripping liquid that smells of fermented leaves and regret. 16th century tax records show samurai paid in indigo balls, currency that stained their coin purses permanently. Your fingers prune ancestral skin memories of 100 laundry days. A thump echoes from the back room. You freeze mid-ring. Historians still argue if the devil's kneading technique involved actual demons or just apprentices working graveyard shifts. The cat hisses at your hesitation, pawing at a rusted scissor, hung like a religious icon. Mist seeps under the door, smuggling in the scent of wet clay. You drape the fabric over a cedar rack, its folds whispering secrets to the wind. Underdyed patches resemble continent shapes, Australia near the hem, Greenland smudged at the collar. Footsteps creak on the stairs, slow, deliberate, missing the third step's squeak. You pocket a snippet of cloth, the exact hue of midnight in a coal mine. Records from 1783 mention dye houses hiding maps in pattern codes, rebels smuggling roots through laundry lines. Lightning cracks, not from the sky, but a match striking oil lamp. The dyer stands in the doorway, her apron streaked with decades of failed experiments. She nods at your stolen swatch, eyes crinkling like parchment, smoothed by generations of thieves. The lamp's flame dyes everything amber, your hands become gilded artifacts. She stirs the vat with a cherrywood paddle each rotation, darkening the brew. 13 stirs clockwise, an old trick to confuse mold spores, or maybe just her OCD. Rain drums the roof, 1,000 tiny fists demanding entrance. The cat leaps onto a shelf, knocking over a jar of powdered oyster shells. Calcium carbonate for color fixing, or an ancient ancestor of glitter. You wipe your nose, smearing blue across your cheek like war paint. She barks a laugh, sharp as a loom's shuttle, and flicks water at your face. The droplet slides down your neck, a comet's tail of diluted sapphire. 18th century Parisian fashionistas would have killed for this shade, then died from the arsenic in their green gowns. Thunder shakes the floorboards. The vat's surface ripples into miniature tsunamis. You grab a plank to steady yourself, palms meeting, wood worn smooth by panic grips. The dyer mutters a curse, or maybe a prayer, as indigo sloshes onto straw mats. Dawn leaks through paper windows, striping the floor like prisoner bars. The fabrics dry now, stiff as a starched confession. She folds it with military precision, corners aligned to compass points. Her thumb brushes a hidden seam where a shogun's lover once sewed poison petals. You step into the drizzle, the stolen cloth warming in your breast pocket. Behind you, the vat burbles its depths, hiding lifetimes of submerged stories. The cat watches from the roof, a blue sentinel dissolving into rain. Mud sucks at your boots, each step imprinted with leaf skeletons and rebellion. Historians still argue whether indigo vats birthed the first abstract art or just collected clumsy dyers' mistakes. You unfold the fabric. Its pattern now mirrors the storm clouds above, an ever-changing map to nowhere. A frog plops into a puddle. The splash echoes the vat's hungry gulps. Your fingers find the cloth's frayed edge, threads whispering of mistakes turned magnificent. The dyer's laugh follows you downhill, a rusty gate swinging shut on yesterday's blues. Rice paddies stretch before you, each terraced step holding moonlight like water. Paper lanterns ignite glowing gold as they rise, tethered to nothing but wishes and warm air. Tang Dynasty records mention festivals with 10,000 lanterns, each bearing poems for the Jade Emperor. A child's sandal squelches. In mud you glimpse painted pigs and dragons bobbing upward, their bamboo frames creaking like old floorboards. 12 lanterns snag on a pine branch, burning through their rice paper in silent panic. You pluck one free, its waxed surface still warm, and pocket the charred bamboo ring. 9th century farmers swore pig-shaped lanterns repelled locusts, though evidence suggests it just scared drunks on horseback. Your sleeve catches on a thorn bush, ripping a hole that flutters like a victory flag. An old woman offers you a brush, inkpot dangling from her belt like a lantern's counterweight. You scribble a wish pause, cross it out. Historians still argue if ancient lanterns carried military signals or just drunk uncle's bad calligraphy. She snorts her laughter, sends 3 lanterns swirling off course, and ties a turnip to your wrist for luck. Wind carries the scent of scorched honey, lantern glue made from beehives hung in forbidden forests. A teenager salvages failed lanterns, their skeletons stacked like ribcage in his bamboo cart. 16th century manuals warn against using mulberry paper. It attracts moth demons who eat unspoken desires. You kick a pebble, it arcs into the dark, pinging off a hidden bell. Your fingers find the hole in your sleeve edges, frayed like a sunflower's petals. Lantern light bleeds through the fabric, projecting your shadow 10 feet tall onto terraces. Ming-era concubines reportedly sewed lantern wishes into their hems, secret rebellions stitched in silk. The ink on your wrist smears a Rorschach blot that looks regrettably phallic. Someone launches a cat-shaped lantern. Its tail catches fire mid-ascent. Farmers cheer as it plummets, a shooting star with 9 temporary lives. Archaeologists found 7th century lantern scraps near Xi'an, still reeking of extinct apricot blossom incense. You step over a snoring goat, its horns wrapped in lucky red ribbons. The old woman reappears, thrusting a melon-sized lantern into your arms. Its paper skin thrums, heated air puffing like a dragon's sigh. You count 19 bamboo ribs, each scraped smooth by hands younger than your shoes. Edo period guides advised whispering secrets to lanterns before release. So the wind learns gossip too. Flames lick the lantern's base, your palms sweat where rice paper clings. Letting go feels like unclenching a fist you didn't know was closed. It rises, a wobbly ascent, pulling your shadow off the earth like a shed snakeskin. 13 heartbeats later, it's just another star in the faux firmament. Cool air nips your inked wrist, the turnip now warm as living skin. A lantern bursts midair, embers cascading L-I-K-E Chinese letter fireworks into irrigation ditches. Farmers curse their words, swallowed by the hiss of dying sparks. You shield your eyes, blinking away after images of that doomed feline lantern. Dawn lurks behind eastern hills. The sky pales from obsidian to bruised plum. Lanterns fade their dying glow outshone by the first green gauge streaks of morning. Tang poets compared this hour to the world holding its breath, though you're pretty sure they just needed pee breaks. The goat wakes bleeding at the ruined lantern carcasses and trots toward yesterday's hay. Your fingers close around the bamboo ring, its charred edge rough as a mountain ridge. Somewhere above the last lantern winks out, a wish extinguished by altitude or indifference. The old woman vanishes, leaving her ink pot balanced on a stone frog's head. You pocket it, the clay still warm from her hip. Mist climbs the terraces, each step disappearing as you descend. A lantern carcass crunches underfoot, splintered bamboo, and ash clinging to your heel. Historians still argue if floating lanterns inspired hot air balloons or just gave pyromaniacs an excuse. Your shadow stretches ahead, thin and blue as yesterday's indigo dreams. Waves rock the hull gentle as a cradle. Stars reflect on ink-black water, infinity in all directions. Salt crusts your lips, a souvenir from that squall near the Azores. The helm vibrates under your palms, each tremor a Morse code from the deep. 14th century navigators steered by Polaris. The nights, you're just following GPS like a tourist. A flying fish slaps the deck, its gills puffing like bellows. You toss it back, a habit sailors called paying the ocean's toll. 17th century logs mention crews throwing coins overboard, not for luck, but to distract sea snakes. Your boot squelches in a puddle, waterlogged planks groaning underfoot. Moonlight glints off barnacles, the ship's jewelry clinging like arthritic fingers. The mainsail sags, canvas slapping its mast in listless rebellion. You tighten a frayed rope, skin remembering blisters from 3 ports ago. Historians still argue whether Magellan's crew ate their own boots first or the rats. A wave curls, its crest glowing with bioluminescence, blue-green sparks fizzing into darkness. You check the compass, needle quivering toward a ghost north. 9th century Arab traders navigated by camel stars, aligning constellations with knotted strings. The wheel creaks left, wood grating on wood, a sound like old bones. Your coffee sloshes, cold and bitter, leaving tide lines in the mug. Clouds swallow the moon, the horizon vanishes. Ancient Polynesians read wave patterns like road maps. You just pray radar holds. A gull lands on the bow, its beak cracked sideways. Sailors once believed these were drowned souls, returning to heckle the living. You flick a barnacle, it plinks into the void, no splash. Wind shifts, carrying the reek of diesel and rotting kelp. The engine's hum dips, a drowsy note that tightens your neck. You count fuel drums bolted to the deck, 37, though 3 leak rainbow puddles. 19th century whalers stored blubber in those barrels, your cargoes, just rubber duckies for Osaka. The radio crackles, a pop song in Mandarin dissolves into static. Stars reemerge, Orion's belt cocked like a holster. Someone sneezes below decks. The sound carries through thin bulkheads. You grin, knowing the cook's smuggling contraband, chili peppers in his socks. A container ship glides past, lit up like a Walmart parking lot. Its wake jostles your boat, china clatters in the galley. 18th century merchantmen feared such giants, calling them iron whales that spit fire. You salute the shadow, its horn blasting a C-sharp into the fog. Dawn bleeds into the east pale as a watercolor spill. The first mate emerges, hair matted, clutching a thermos of something flammable. You nod, silent code for no disasters since your shift. He points to the horizon, a dark smudge that might be land. or a dream. Your chart rustles, corners pinned by a fossilized lemon and a naked Barbie. Latitude lines blur, numbers swimming like eels. Phoenician traders used dolphin paths to find shore. You've got Google Maps open incognito. The coffee mug tips, dregs pool around the Barbie's feet, a tiny flood. Heat shimmers above the engine room, air warped like funhouse glass. You peel off your jacket, sleeves stiff with salt. A crewman's tattoo winks in sunlight, a mermaid with Dwayne Johnson's face. Renaissance sailors inked pigs on their feet, believing it prevented drowning. Yours just says, Mom, a different kind of life preserver. The breeze dies, sails drooping like tired lungs. Flying fish erupt from the water, a silver strafe that glints then vanishes. You half expect pirates, but the only looters here are gulls and boredom. The cook shouts, his voice frayed, and you smell burnt rice. Sunset melts the sky, tangerine streaks dissolving into indigo. You adjust the autopilot, a relic that groans like a stepped-on cat. Stars multiply, pinpricks in a black velvet curtain. The crew plays poker below, coins clinking, a sound like distant buoys. Midnight finds you squinting at radar blips that could be islands or mirages. Waves slap the hull, rhythm syncing with your blinking. A meteor scars the sky, its green tail mirrored in the water. You make a wish, forget it, make another. Dolphins surface alongside their clicks and whistles, slicing through engine noise. One leaps, arcs over a wave, then dissolves into foam. 13th century fishermen thought them prophets. You just enjoy their lack of invoices. The first mate returns, offers a jerky strip that tastes of salt and apologies. Clouds return, a woolen blanket snuffing out the stars. Rain prickles your neck, cold nails hammering the deck. You sip your jacket, the broken tooth stubborn as ever. 16th century captains drank rainwater from their hats. You catch drops on your tongue, pretend it's champagne. The storm passes, leaving air scrubbed clean and raw. A container floats by, its contents spilling out. Sneakers, plastic roses, a sodden teddy bear. You log the coordinates, knowing no one will come. Moonlight returns, glazing the debris in liquid silver. Your shift ends, shoulders creaking like the ship itself. The ladder groans as you descend, each rung a minor betrayal. Bunks sway, hammocks mimicking the sea's lazy rolls. You kick off boots, dreams already pulling you under, and wonder if the stars watch back. Your dreams coil like smoke, geometry unfolding in fractured sleep. Chalk dust hangs in moonlight, a classroom where night writes its proofs. You trace a perfect circle, compass, needle pricking papyrus, the sound like a heartbeat under glass. Ancient Greeks obsessed over sacred ratios, Fibonacci's spiral hides in seashells and galaxies. But more on that later. Dawn cracks the sky, a yellow edge slicing through graph paper clouds. Your fingers brush a mosaic floor, each tile triangles, tessellating into tigers and tides. Someone left a parchment here, ink smudged with wine stains. 13th century Persian scholars mapped math onto rose gardens, calculating petal curves to mirror star paths. A cat blinks at you from the corner, its tail flicking irrational numbers into dust. You step over a sundial, its shadow bisecting a labyrinth etched in salt. Historians still argue whether Stonehenge was a calendar or just Neolithic performance art. The compass quivers, drawing you toward a granite slab. Pythagorean theorem graffiti decorates the edge. A2 plus B2 equals C2. And a doodle of Pythagoras riding a dolphin. Warmth bleeds through the stone, a forgotten Roman hypocaust system still humming beneath your feet. Your breath fogs an astrolabe, its brass rings squeaking like hungry mice. 9th century Baghdad scholars used these to measure star heights, though you're just eyeballing Orion's belt. A moth lands on the quadrant, its wings velvet black and compass rose precise. You find a clay tablet, cuneiform numbers marching like ants. Babylonian math used base 60, hence our 60-minute hours and eternal confusion. Someone's scrawled corrections in red ink, correcting a tax calculation from 1800 BCE. Your boot nudges a boxwood ruler, its markings worn to ghost lines. Catherine of Aragon owned a folding ivory sundial. Your trivia brain clings to that. The spiral staircase ahead groans, each step a calculus problem in maple wood. You count 37 steps, your calf muscles screaming logarithmic protests. At the top, a dome perforated with star-shaped holes. Rainbows pool on the floor, light refraction as classroom lecture. You yawn reflexively. A stained glass Archimedes points accusingly, his lever still waiting to move the world. You pocket a brass protractor, its arc colder than winter debt. Renaissance engineers hid math jokes in cathedral blueprints. Look up the Vesica Piscis if you're bored. The cat reappears, knocking over an abacus, wooden beads clattering like bad opinions. Tides of parchment rise, anchored by obsidian paperweights. You decipher a marginal note. For the love of Euclid, fix the dodecahedron diagram. A quill floats by dripping ink that smells of fermented oak galls. Medieval monks spiked their ink with honey, beeswax for gloss, spite for consistency. The room shudders, gears grinding behind walls. A model orrery spasms to life, planets wobbling on tarnished wires. Copernicus's De Revolutionibus lies open, coffee-stained, and dog-eared. You straighten Saturn's ring, it snaps back crooked, cosmic defiance. Shadows stretch, angles sharpening as sunset bleeds through leaded glass. You solve the floor's riddle, aligning a spiral within a square. A hidden drawer clicks open, revealing a pearl set in geometric amber. Trade routes carried math along spice trails, algebra as baggage alongside cinnamon and lies. The scent of lavender wax startles you. Someone's sealing a letter with a Fibonacci crest. Henry Poincaré's chaotic orbits flutter overhead, paper birds with inked equations for feathers. You catch one, It dissolves into prime numbers, stinging your palm like static. Moonlight resurfaces, silvering the chalkboards. Erasers hang like fetishes, bundles of felt and failure. Your reflection warps in a parabolic mirror nose, elongated, eyes pinched to calculus symbols. A clock chimes 13, its pendulum tracing the golden ratio with each swing. Stars spin the dome, now a planetarium of shifting conjectures. You lie back, letting theorems scroll across the void. A moth drinks moonlight from the compass rose, wings whispering secrets only parallel lines comprehend. Your boots crunch ancient guano, powdery, underfoot, like stale birthday cake. Moonlight fingers through cracks above, spotlighting a ceiling furry with sleeping bats. Their wings shift, leathery whispers echoing 1,000 times over. You edge forward toes, testing each step, subconscious map reading from childhood games of the floor is lava. A drip hits your neck, cold as a dentist's tools, and you remember 9th century Mayan farmers. They hauled bat droppings for crop fertilizer, high-risk agriculture before OSHA. Your laugh bounces off stalagmites, startling a juvenile bat into flight. It zigzags past, another kamikaze pilot ignoring FAA regulations. The air thickens, mildew and wet stone pressing your lungs. You spot carvings on a pillar, crude stick, figures hauling baskets. Historians still argue whether these caves were granaries or just Bronze Age rave venues. A moth lands on your wrist, translucent wings flexing, tiny UFO scouting the terrain. Your fingers brush something smooth, a clay jar buried in sediment. Inside, black residue clinging to its ribs. 15th century mapmakers sometimes used bat blood ink, secrets swirled into maritime charts. You sniff it, regret immediately, nostrils staging a mutiny. Silk spider threads glint in the fractured light, nature's tripwires strung between stalactites. You crouch to avoid decapitation, spine protesting like a rusty garage door. The floor slopes downward, moonspots thinning as the cavern yawns deeper. A draft rises, carrying the faintest whiff of jasmine. 12 bats detach overhead, drifting towards some moonlit errand. Their echolocation clicks flutter your shirt collar, sonar waves tangible as moth kisses. You count their shadows. 7, 8, 13 math, never your forte underground. The walls narrow, squeezing you into single-file existence. Your elbow scrapes a fossilized fern, its vein patterns fossilized under Jurassic muck. Someone smeared ochre here, handprints small as a child's, flanked by charcoal stick figures holding flutes, torches, blunt objects, interpretive dance moves. A stalagmite looms its tip glistening with condensed moisture. You touch the droplet, it shivers, then plinks into a pool below. The sound ricochets, waking a battalion of bats. Wings erupt, a black river swirling around your head, ear canals flooded with Doppler shrieks. You freeze, game night strategy. When dinosaurs attack, play statue. The swarm spirals upward, a living tornado funneling through a crack in the ceiling. Moonlight douses the cavern again, your heartbeat the loudest thing left. Beneath the stalagmite's base, a coin winks in the gloom. You fish it out, Byzantine mint, Emperor Justinian's profile worn to a ghost. Flip it, a leering Medusa face on the reverse, because nothing says legal tender like petrification threats. Wind snakes through distant passages, whistling a tune your ears almost recognize. You pocket the coin, its edges jagged as a toddler's crayon drawing. 2 fireflies bob past, GPS dots for Realm of the Fae navigation. Ahead the cavern forks. Left tunnel smells of wet fur, right tunnel hums with distant water. You choose humidity over bestial mystery. Heroes never die in dry cleaning commercials. The ceiling lowers, forcing a hunched shuffle. Knees crack, soundtrack of middle-aged spelunking. The walls bloom with bioluminescent moss teal pinpricks outlining your path. You trail a hand through it, fingertips glowing like cheap birthday candles. 17th century miners called it witch glow, natural phosphorescence plus superstition equals early retirement. The hum solidifies into a whisper fall, a subterranean creek curling over limestone. Moonlight finds a new crack here illuminating the water's surface. Fish dart, translucent and eyeless, evolutions snub to aesthetic standards. You kneel, ripples distorting your reflection into Picasso contours. A bat plummets, snatches a fish mid-air darkness, eating darkness. The creek applauds with its tiny, watery hands. Something glints on the far bank, a rusted helmet, half buried in silt. Roman design cocked sideways like a drunk's hat. The empire's borders once touched these caves legionnaires lost on literal piss breaks. Your foot sinks into silt boot, sucking at the muck like a jealous ex. You yank free, balance teetering, arms windmilling through bat-emptied space. The helmet rolls into the water, vanishing with a glug Napoleon would envy. The creek's far side opens into a gallery, floor littered with charred sticks. Fire pit remnants circle a central depression, ash still soft under your probing toe. Iron Age sleepover. Secret sauna club. This cave's resume keeps expanding. A paw print fossilizes near the ashes, too large for wolf, too small for bear. You snap a mental photo, post later with Bigfoot's jogging trail. Hashtags. The ceiling creaks. Geological arthritis reminding you time's a social construct. Moonlight dims, clouds snuffing the crack overhead. Your lungs tighten, each breath recycled through centuries of bad farts. You turn back glow moss, now guiding toward the fork. A bat swoops past, tagging your ear with wingtip grace. The coin weighs heavy in your pocket, Justinian's ghost smirking through millennia. You exit beneath the sleeping colony, their symphony of snores, a lullaby scored for theremin. The moth hitchhikes on your collar, new ambassador to the outer world. Lamplight pools on the workbench, oilwick hissing company to the cricket choir. You run a thumb over deerskin, buttery, soft from days soaked in, let's just call it, organic tannin. Medieval cobblers swore by urine treatments, though modern reenactors omit that particular historical accuracy. Needles flash, plucking waxed linen through sole holes, each tug rhythmic as a metronome. The cobbler's thimble gleams, 19th century silver repurposed from a liquor flask. Historians still argue whether those diamond-shaped stitches on Mongol riding boots were grip aids or just Genghis Khan's branding department getting creative. You lace a half-finished boot, fingers navigating eyelets like a spider on Adderall. The leather smells of smoke and juniper, North African trade routes trapped in every pore. A donkey brays outside, probably judging your knot-tying skills. The cobbler snaps a thread with his teeth, gesturing to a wall of lasts. Foot molds hang like ghostly toes, Francisco de Zurbarán still-life rejects. One's labeled Lady Margaret, 1612 toe box narrower than a Puritan's patience. You nudge a Roman caliga sandal, its hobnails chewing gouges into the wood. Midnight wind rattles shutters, extinguishing 2 candles. The cobbler relights them with flint, muttering about Venetian levees on tallow. His awl traces a curve, sinew looping through pre-punched holes. 8th century Persian manuals called this the dragon's tail stitch, though you're pretty sure dragons weren't into podiatry. A cat leaps onto the bench tail, swiping a jar of beeswax. It shatters, golden globs oozing toward a half-sole pattern. The cobbler sighs, rescue mission launched with a putty knife. You salvage a finger scoop, emergency lip balm for your chapped Arizona desert of a face. Heirloom scissors glide through kidskin, trimming vamp overages with surgeon precision. You notice his pinky fingers missing, silent backstory cheaper than a Netflix subscription. He catches your stare, taps the nub against an anvil. Napoleonic conscription marching boots wore through faster than my patriotism. Stacks of heel lifts teeter, Birkenstock before Birkenstocks, for Renaissance blisters. You peel back a layer, horsehair stuffing, and ground cork. 17th century street vendors peddled anti-plague insoles, soaked in vinegar early insoles, late epidemiology. The cat bats at dangling laces, ambushing your wrist with velvet paws. You surrender a scrap of deerskin, instant toy more enthralling than the Magna Carta. Across the room, a century-old button-hook rusts, its loops waiting for gloves that outlived their wearers. Firelight glints on a half-polished Oxford toe cap, mirroring your warped reflection. The cobbler hums a drinking song, off-key nostalgia for Bavarian beer halls. You counter with radio jingle snippets, cultural collision, sponsored by sleep deprivation. He gestures to a shelf of dyes, walnut husks, indigo cakes, crushed cochineal beetles. Clients requested scarlet boots, for a cardinal's nephew forgot to specify which scarlet. A stained ledger lies open column entries, accusing someone of chronic non-payment in florins. Your boots take shape, ankle guard stiff as a Victorian governess. Tongues flop like drunk eels until he tacks them with brass tacks. cobbler's hands tremor, age, or arthritis. Before steadying against the bench, a church bell tolls once, twice. He freezes, needle mid-stitch. Wind carries the third chime, then silence. Never trust bells after barrack siege. He grumbles, Scottish accent thickening. English troops rang them early to fake dawn god. The town drunk, surrendered by breakfast. You flex the nearly finished boot arch support better than your mattress. The cobbler stashes his tools, chisels nesting in felt-lined drawers, his apron's hem frays, hemp fibers surrendering to decades of resin and sheep fat, lantern oil sputters, wick begging for retirement. The cat snores in a boot box, paws twitching through mouseless dreams. He presses the pair into your arms, warmth lingering from hands that shaped 1,000 roads. You step into dawn's gray light, new souls whispering against cobblestones. Somewhere behind you, a whetstone screeches, blades sharpened for tomorrow's pilgrims. The laces sway twin pendulums, counting down leagues to horizons. Pine resin coats your boots, sticky reminders of the cobbler's final wax blessing. Dawn's gold filters through needled canopies, each beam sieved into fractured lace. You tread a carpet of rust-red needles, springy as old mattresses in a haunted B&B. 17th century apothecaries prescribed pine tar for lung ailments, though they ignored the vomiting side effects. A gust parts the branches, whispers condense into half-heard words. Turn back, or maybe just the creak of drought-stressed timber. Historians still argue whether Neolithic tribes used these groves as acoustic message boards. Early Elye, Snaya pe achete for gossip about bad mammoth hunts. Resin droplets glint on bark, amber jewels hardening in real time. You snap one off, its scent clings to your fingers like a possessive X. 6th century, Mongolian warriors allegedly chewed spruce gum during sieges, early breath mints for discussing battle plans up close. Needles prick your palm, their bundled clusters defy arithmetic. 5 per bunch. 3. The math shifts like a politician's promises. You count again, 4, no, 5, until wind scrambles your tally. 19th century botanists named this species Pinus indecisus. As a joke, the label stuck harder than their glue recipes. Shadows lengthen without warning, the sun playing peekaboo through shifting boughs. Your neck prickles, the feeling of being heard by something that breathes slower than stone. A woodpecker hammers Morse code, ZZZ, Napoleonic era tree graffiti, hidden under lichen mustaches. Bark scrapes your shoulder, rough as a sailor's cheek after 6 months at sea. You spot carvings beneath THE Chinese letter, initials inside heart shapes, dates from revolutions nobody remembers. One reads HMS Victory Crew, 1803, rusted nail, strokes, outliving empires. The path steepens, roots writhing across the slope like petrified snakes. Your boot slips on a moss patch attraction, sacrificed for the cobbler's artful stitching. Pinecones crater the soil, volcanic miniatures waiting to sprout Tolkien's next trilogy. A hollow log sprawls ahead, its interior charred by lightning or arsonist squirrels. Inside, owl pellets studded with mouse skulls, nature's cursed sprinkles. You pocket a fir cone, strictly for scientific reasons. Obviously, its scales tighter than a miser's coin purse. Sunset bleeds through needled grids, the forest floor becoming a camera obscura. Projected leaves dapple your arms, tattoos that fade by moonlight. 1893, fire watchers swore these groves glowed blue before storms, dismissed as hickory smoke hallucinations, until the 1987 Kyoto study. Stars pierce the canopy, Orion's belt, snagged on a Douglas fir. Your breath fogs, each puff echoing the shape of speech bubbles in silent comics. The wind stills for once, as if the pines lean closer to listen. You lie back on the needle bed. It accepts your weight with a martyr's sigh. Above, a billion green splinters skewer the Milky Way. Somewhere, a branch cracks its echo, stretching into the shape of a stranger's laugh. Your eyelids dip, pine-scented darkness rising to meet them. The loom's last shuttle clicks into stillness, its silence louder than any thunder. You hover your palm above the woven expanse, threads mapping deserts crossed and rivers forded. Emperor Justinian's 6th century silk monopoly leaks into your memory. Purple dyes, worth more than soldiers' lives. Your fingernail catches a frayed cobalt strand, Egyptian flax spun thinner than a spider's sigh. 18th century French nuns allegedly wove wedding veils from Attic cobwebs gossamer, enough to fit in a walnut shell. Historians still argue whether medieval tapestries encoded heresies, Bible stories fronting alchemical recipes. Warps sag under gold yarn, Harun al-Rashid's Baghdad glinting in every twist. You spot a misplaced stitch, a crimson hiccup in otherwise perfect geometry. Was it sabotage? Some disgruntled apprentice's tiny rebellion. The debate fuels 3 doctoral theses you'll never write. Dust motes pirouette where sunlight slices through shuttered windows. Your breath stirs centuries of wool mites. They rise like reverse snowfall. Someone once told you Byzantine weavers sang dirges while working funeral hymns baked into fabric through sheer repetition. A moth drifts onto the tapestry, its wings mimicking the storm gray border pattern. You freeze, predator, and prey eyeing each other's camouflage. 1792 pest control manuals recommended tobacco smoke baths, a solution worse than the whole riddled problem. The room exhales, cedar chests releasing memories of indigo vats and madder root boilings. Your shadow merges with the loom's skeletal silhouette, a 2-headed monster on cracked plaster walls. 19th century psychiatrists diagnosed weaver's psychosis. In textile towns, visions of endless threads strangling patients awake. You unspool a leftover, bobbin hemp fibers whispering across calluses. Each revolution erases minutes, or maybe steals them. Bulgarian folklore claims cloth woven during lunar eclipses, traps souls, a fact you choose to ignore while working night shifts. Moonlight bleeds through rafters, transforming the tapestry into a ghostly battle standard. Crushed oak gall ink stains your thumbnail, a malformed black crescent. Auction catalogs claim Elizabeth I own this loom, conveniently omitting her obsession with arsenic green dresses. Outside, an owl screeches, the sound stretching into a yawn. You mimic it, jaw popping, as stretched threads mimic the horizon. Pre-industrial child weavers were paid in peppercorns, currency light enough to carry, too spicy to swallow. The final knot resists, a stubborn comma refusing to end the sentence. Your teeth sever the yarn, a metallic tang flooding your tongue. Art restorers found Norse runes under the Bayeux Tapestry's linen, stocking lists layered beneath Norman propaganda. Footsteps echo in the corridor, the director's heels telegraphing displeasure. You drape the tapestry over the loom, a shroud for your sleeplessness. 16th century Flemish weavers inserted self-portraits into altarpieces, gods I view, confirming their vanity. Dawn sulks beyond leaded windows, pink fingers smudging THE Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter floor. You pocket a snipped thread, souvenir or future Achilles heel. Someone will unknot it decades later, puzzle over its origin, bless your name or curse it. The door creaks, cold air rushing to fill every silence. You step back, one hand raised in tribute or surrender. The loom stands sentinel, patient as mountain's roadmap, glowing faintly where sunlight kisses gold. Home waits in the warp. The loom's breath slows, its wooden bones cooling under your touch. Moonlight sifts through shuttered windows, painting silver pathways across dormant threads. You trace the tapestry's spine, a river of gold frozen mid-flow. 17th century weavers believed their creations held dreams. Yours lingers in the spaces between warp and weft. A moth brushes your wrist, its wings dusty with midnight. You blow gently, watching it spiral upward like a lost stitch. 19th century diaries mention weavers sleeping beneath their looms, finding solace in the hum of unfinished patterns. Your eyelids flutter, a slow blink merging past and present. The last ember in the hearth crumbles, ash whispering secrets only fire understands. Your calluses graze the loom's edge, splinters softened by decades of oil and sweat. Dawn tiptoes across the workshop, gilding dust motes into temporary stars. Someone once said thread remembers the ache of flax stalks, the chill of shears. You unwind a spool of silence, letting it pool at your feet. Centuries ago, night weavers lit candles with wolf fat, their light smoky and thick. Your own shadow stretches, thin as a single strand, before dissolving into the floorboards. The tapestry rests now, its stories curled like a contented cat. Your breath syncs with the room's quiet pulse, in out, in out. 21st century anxieties unravel here, replaced by the loom's ancient, unspoken mantra. Everything bends, nothing breaks. Cool air swirls through the doorway, a phantom caress against your neck. You step back, until the loom shrinks to a silhouette. Its gold threads still glow, a constellation guiding you home through the warp of night. Sleep comes softly, a shuttle slipping into velvet grooves. The world turns threadbare and tender stitched together with quiet.